A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
The Life of Mary Sothern, a dramatic story of a young widow who sacrifices security to follow a difficult and unfamiliar road into the future. Mary Sothern is presented each weekday by the makers of Ipana toothpaste. The Life of Mary Sothern, the dramatic story of a young widow who sacrifices security to follow a difficult and unfamiliar road into the future. And now, the life of Mary Sothern. Mary is struggling against overwhelming odds to build a new life for herself and her children in Craig's Falls. Now that she has recovered from the shock of her husband's death, she feels instinctively that she will find contentment only by breaking completely with the past. Although her income is gone, she refuses Dr. John Benson's offer of marriage and security because she does not love him and declares that she will find a job and support her children. Yesterday brought hope, followed by cruel disappointment to Mary. A moment after David and Father Brady had told her they could take care of 2 more children at the neighborhood house, a laborer, whose wife was sick, appeared with his 2 babies, and Mary insisted unselfishly that these motherless children needed the 2 available nursery beds. It is the next afternoon. Mary has spent another discouraging day looking for work, and she is exhausted, mentally and physically. As she walks slowly up the front steps of the boarding house, she is tortured by disheartening memories of the past few days.
No openings at all, miss. Come back in the spring.
What? Applying for a job with no references? How many years' experience, miss?
References?
Period. References? Period.
Only experienced girls need apply. Only experienced girls need apply.
I'll never get a job. I'll never get a job. They wouldn't even trust me to wash dishes at the hotel just because I never worked in a hotel. Jane was right. You have to be practical in this world. I thought I'd find a job just because I need one so badly, just because I want my children with me.
Mary.
Oh, hello, Mrs. McPherson. I didn't see you standing there at the door. I was just thinking.
You've been standing out there on the porch so long, I decided you was too tired to open the door and come in.
I am tired, Mrs. McPherson. I thought I'd get used to it after a few days.
No, you never get used to hearing people say there's no work for you and having them slam doors in your face. Come on in, sit down.
I don't know what I'd do if it weren't for you and Father Brady and David. You've all been wonderful.
Nonsense. We've all had bad breaks of sales, that is, David and I have. We know what you're going through. You're losing weight, Mary. You better take tomorrow off and have a good rest.
I can't. I've got to keep on or give up.
You've got more spunk than any tin woman I ever met. Honest, I thought I'd break down and have a good cry when David told me what happened yesterday.
David told you about wanting to bring my children here to the nursery?
Yeah. Does seem as if you've had more hard luck than anybody I ever heard of. Just when it's all fixed up for your kids to use the last 2 beds in the nursery, that fellow with a sick wife had to turn up with 2 babies. Well, guess there was nothing for Father Brady to do but take him in when it was a bad break for you.
Well, maybe there was a reason why things happened that way. Maybe it was meant to be a warning to me that I don't deserve to have my children here till I prove I can take care of them.
Of all the nonsense. You deserve everything anybody can do for you. Oh, dear. Wonder who that is at the front door. Say, Mary, look out that front window. Isn't that Dr. Benson's car?
Why, yes, it is. But he said he wouldn't be back till tomorrow.
Listen, you're in no state to argue with him tonight. Want me to tell him you're not here?
No, he's come all the way from Sanders to see me. Better send him in, Mrs. McPherson.
All right, if you say so. But I wish that man would leave you alone.
I was so sure I'd have a job before he came back. So sure.
Mary?
Oh, hello, John. I didn't expect you till tomorrow.
I had a light schedule at the clinic today, so it looked like a good chance to drive over here and see you. Mary, dear, your face is thinner. You look tired.
Oh, I'm all right, John. I'm feeling fine.
You've been wearing yourself out looking for a job, haven't you?
Well, I've been looking, but it takes time, as you said it would.
Mary, I want to apologize for what I said.
Now, there's no need of apologizing, John. You just warned me that I'd had no business experience, and I'd have a hard time finding a job.
But I had no right to talk to you that way, as if you belonged to me.
A good friend should always have the right to tell the truth. You and I have always been truthful with each other, haven't we?
Always. Oh, Mary, you only knew what I've gone through these past few days. Wanting to help you, wanting you with me, close to me, and knowing you were 80 miles away.
John, please.
Even when you married Max, I didn't suffer as I have lately. Because then I knew you were in the same town. I could go to sleep at night knowing that I'd meet you downtown during the day, that I'd hear your voice.
John, I've never deserved such devotion.
You deserve all the love and devotion a man could give you. The devotion I could give you, Mary, if you'd only let me.
No, John, no, don't say that again. You're such a fine, generous person. You'd make a wonderful husband and father. I don't understand why I can't love you as you want me to. I just can't explain it, but...
Don't you think you might love me in time, Mary, if you married me? Oh, I want so much to take care of you.
Please, John, dear, don't make it any harder for me to refuse. I wish you'd try to understand that, well, you'd never be happy with me. I just don't love you in that way. I could never love you as a wife should love her husband.
I'm willing to risk it, Mary. I'd rather have your friendship than the love of 100 other women.
John, please, let's talk of something else.
All right.
Tell me about Susan and Jimmy. Are they well and happy?
They're fine, Mary, fine. They miss you, of course.
I miss them so much it's torture even to mention their names. This week's taught me one thing. It's going to take longer than I thought finding a job.
Well, I knew you'd find that out.
And I think you were right advising me not to bring them here till I proved I can support them.
Mary, suppose weeks and months pass before you do find a job. Do you want to be separated from your children all that time?
I've got to find work soon. I don't think I can go on much longer without seeing them. Just feeling their arms around my neck.
Mary, you won't be the first person who spent months job hunting.
Months before I see my children. And their birthday's just 3 weeks away. I must find work before then.
Dr. Benson.
Oh, isn't that Mrs. McPherson, Mary?
Yes, I wonder why she wants you.
Phone for you, Dr. Benson. Father Brady. Phone's right there.
Father Brady? Wonder why he's calling me. Excuse me, Mary.
Yes, surely, John.
Hello? Father Brady? Yes, Mrs. Benson.
Mary, don't you think you ought to send Dr. Benson away and rest a few minutes before dinner?
Yes, I must ask him to go. I wonder why Father Brady phoned John.
Wants to talk to him about you, most likely.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Mary, Father Brady wants to talk to me.
Yes, John?
I have to drive back to Sanders tonight, so I told him I'd drop over to see him right now.
Did he say why he wants to see you, John?
No. I hate to leave you, Mary.
Oh, that's all right. I'd like to rest for a few minutes before dinner anyway.
Yes, you need rest and sleep, Mary. Wish I didn't have to go back to Sanders tonight, but I'll be back in a few days.
Give my love to Susan and Jimmy, John.
Yes, I will, then.
And thanks again for all you've done for them.
Goodbye, Mary. Mrs. McPherson, will you see that Mary gets plenty of sleep?
Yeah, I'll do my best, Dr. Benson.
Goodbye, John.
Goodbye, Mary.
There's just one reason why Father Brady wants to talk to John. It's about me.
Sure. I bet Father Brady and David are figuring out a way to bring your kids here after all.
I'm causing too much trouble for everybody. First my friends in Sanders, now David and Father Brady.
Oh, nonsense.
They're all trying to help me, but they think I'm wrong in wanting my children here. Yes, I'm sure they think I'm wrong. John says it may be months before I get a job. Months for everybody to worry about me. No, I can't go on this way any longer. There's just one thing for me to do now. Just one possible decision, and I must make it before tomorrow.
What does Mary mean? Has she found a real solution to her problems? Or has she reached a decision born of resignation and despair? Once again, John Benson pleads with Mary to accept security for herself and her children by marrying him, and once again Mary has refused. Undoubtedly, Mary's guess is correct, that Father Brady wants to discuss her problems with John. But she's wrong, of course, in feeling that David and Father Brady disapprove of her desire to bring her children to Craig's Falls. What decision has Mary reached as a result of her despairing conviction that she is causing too much trouble to all her friends? We'll know tomorrow when another chapter is presented in the life of Mary Sothern.
From Hollywood, California, and an Allied base in Naples, Italy, Autolite brings you Everything for the Boys, the Command Theater of the Air starring Mr. Ronald Colman and his guest for tonight, Miss Ingrid Bergman. Everything for the Boys is presented by the Electric Autolite Company and its 22 great manufacturing plants. Builders of precision equipment for 35 years. World famous for Autolite spark plugs, batteries, wire, cable, and electrical systems for automotive, aviation, and marine use. Now, here's your host, Mr. Ronald Colman.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A flight of fancy takes us tonight into the realm of the mitre bin, as Ingrid Bergman and I portray two interesting people in Art Oboler's dramatization of Death Takes a Holiday by Albert Casella. We will then take a more realistic flight with the aid of shortwave radio to Naples, Italy, and speak to two Coast Guardsmen stationed there at an Allied base. To them, and to all the men and women fighting the world over in the cause of freedom, we dedicate this global half hour.
American flyers have nicknamed it Elmer. The British call it George. We on the home front refer to it as an automatic pilot. Now, perhaps a name like Elmer or George is more fitting for this precision instrument because it's almost human. It has brain and muscle. Its control over a plane in flight is far more precise than that of any pilot, nerveless, unexcitable. The brain transmits an accurate signal to the hydraulic muscle to pilot the plane on a straight and level flight, stop the roll and pitch, keep it on the course. But an automatic pilot is not born. It is man-made, an ingenious example of precision manufacturing by the Autolite Aviation Products plant at Toledo, Ohio. They are working long hours every day, accurately building automatic pilots for Navy dive bombers. The lives of many Allied flyers, the success of operations, depend in great measure on the performance of this and other precision instruments. That's why accuracy to within 25 one-millionths of an inch in the manufacture of certain vital parts is required. This is indeed engineering know-how, another example that the name Autolite means precision manufacturing.
And so I am at last to become immortal. I shall feel blood in my veins, warm blood of life. I shall feel my desire becoming flesh, and my hunger taking the fire of blood. I, death, do hereby take on the world, the flesh, and the devil. Forgive me, my friend. My sense of humor overcame me for a moment. And now, shall we begin our interesting experiment?
The place, the garden surrounding Duke Lamberto's castle in Italy. The year is a very long time ago. The hour is just before midnight. A strange midnight.
him into the house.
It's a strange night, isn't it, Corrado? Are those shadows, those clouds driving across the moon?
Clouds, of course. Come into the house, Grazia. Your father will be angry enough with me when he hears how close I came to smashing up his car.
But Corrado, look.
What is it?
The shadow. Don't you see it?
Yeah.
It's like the one we saw on the road just before we struck.
Oh, stop it. Why do you let your imagination go like that? It's just a cloud passing over the moon.
Oh, this has been the strangest night I've ever known.
Come into the house, I beg of you.
Another inch on that curve and we would have died. Why didn't we die tonight, Corrado?
Why must you think of it?
Grazia.
There, it's your father. Come on.
No, you go to him. Tell him I want to stay here a little while.
Grazia, Corrado.
Coming, sir. Grazia, I didn't love you.
Grazia, answer me.
It's all right, sir. She's in the garden.
What do you mean, sir, getting back so late? Where is my daughter? It's Grazia.
Grazia!
Grazia, where are you? Corrado, what is it?
She fainted, I imagine, sir.
Grazia, his father. What is it? Tell me.
Oh, let it come in.
What did you say?
Here, Corrado, help her up.
Oh, yes.
Grazia, look at me. Oh, what frightened you?
Father, I don't know what it was. There was something cold and terrible. Oh, Father.
Grazia, you're safe now, believe me.
Try and tell us what it was, Grazia.
I was sitting by the fountain. It was all so peaceful, so beautiful. Suddenly I felt as if something wonderful were about to happen, and then...
Grazia?
Then a cold wind seemed to touch me. But it wasn't a wind because all the leaves were still.
Oh, Grazia.
I felt someone behind me running. There wasn't any sound, but someone was running. I turned and I saw...
Well, what did you see?
A shadow. A terrible shadow, and yet it wasn't a shadow. Oh, Father.
Corrado, take her back to the house.
Yes, sir. Come on, darling. It's all right now.
Send out the servants. We'll search the ground.
Yes, sir.
Who is it? Who are you?
Look at my face.
Oh, but this is some horrible masquerade, is it?
No. I am, or I was until I crossed your threshold. Death.
Death?
Do not be so afraid. I am sleep, too, and the fulfillment of dreams. I am about to take a holiday.
Holiday?
Yes, think of it. For the first time in history, no man will die. For 3 days, not a leaf will fall or star from heaven.
But why are you doing this?
To discover why men fear me as they do.
You do not know?
What could terror mean to me who have nothing to fear? And I would like to know something about love.
Love?
It is the word most often on the lips of man when he goes with me. Love must be something desirable that makes men fear me. My dear Duke Lamberto, will you accept me for these 3 days as your guest?
As my guest?
Oh, do not be alarmed. I shall appear as Prince Circe of Alexandria. My presence in your house will not be a menace, but a protection.
Thank you.
There is one condition. You alone are to know my secret. If you tell your daughter or your guests, I shall leave instantly as a mortal and return as death.
Grazia?
Yes, Corrado.
Have you seen the newspapers this morning?
No.
Absolutely amazing. There hasn't been a fatal accident, any death of any sort for that matter, in the last 24 hours. Grazia, you haven't been listening to me.
Oh, Prince Circe, who is he? What do you know of him?
Why, he's a friend of your father's. Why do you ask?
I want to know about him.
Why?
When I'm talking with him, I have a sense of...
What?
When he's not with me, I still feel him present.
I don't like him. Thank heavens he leaves tonight at midnight. For Grazia, you shivered. I'll get you your wrap.
titles are much too formal for you and me.
How should I call you then, Prince Turkey?
Call me your friend.
I like to be called Grazia by my friends.
Grazia.
You make it sound like music.
I could say so much more.
You're being very kind.
I wonder if I am being kind.
Perhaps I should have said gracious.
No, not gracious either. In these hours I have been among you, I have discovered that even the mightiest must plead for certain favors.
Oh, I should think you would never have to plead.
On the contrary, I am feeling strangely humble for the first time.
And I, too, feel strangely.
Yes?
Once, when I was very ill, I had a dream. I was standing alone on the top of the world, and all the mysteries of the world were clear to me. I knew all truth for a moment, and I was so content.
Well?
When you are near me, I feel as if once again I'm going to know the truth.
Grazia! Grazia! Oh, Grazia, I have been looking for you.
Good morning, sir. Little Grazia and I have been exchanging compliments. It is a very pretty custom of your society.
Forgive me, Your Highness, but she has work to do.
Yes, of course. Will you forgive me, my friend?
Yes, I forgive you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye, lovely little Grazia.
Is there anything I can do for you, Your Highness?
No, except not to interfere.
Forgive me, I do not understand.
You asked me once if this was a masquerade. It was at first. I was playing a game for my amusement. But now I am caught and being carried blindly toward...
Toward what, Your Highness?
Toward something I had not foreseen. Toward that which gives life its meaning and its grandeur. Toward...
Yes?
Love.
Who is it? Who?
I warn you, none must hinder me. Is that clear?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, here comes Corrado. He, too, is a lover, is he not? How unfortunate.
Your Grace.
Tell him nothing. You hear me? Nothing.
Your Grace, where is Grazia?
Grazia.
What is it, sir? What's the matter? Oh, look, there she is. She's going off into the woods with him. Grazia, wait, I want
No, don't call back after them. Don't.
Let go of me. Why are you stopping me?
I forbid you to move.
Are you out of your mind?
He can kill us, all of us.
Kill? Who is this prince? Tell me. Tell me.
The one that all men dread. His Majesty. Death. Amusing himself on a holiday. Grazia.
We hardly need to speak, do we, Grazia?
Thoughts are so much clearer than words.
Then perhaps you can tell me what I've been doing in the garden.
I think I can. Almost.
Tell me. I want to hear it from your lips.
I think you've been holding life in your hands, as I do sometimes. I think you've been a little afraid of its beauty.
Come close to me.
Yes.
I have been walking in a garden that was full of you, and under a sky that sang of you. Your laughter was in a wind that went by and touched my hair.
I stood looking at the sky, and the night was bright with the thought of you.
Grazia.
Ever since I saw you, I have wanted. Oh, what is this that has happened? Who are you?
Circe.
I don't mean that. You seem to come from a distant place.
I do come from far away.
Beneath your words, there's a sound that I've heard in dreams, and sometimes when there's a storm in the mountains. And when you leave me, the light goes from the sky. You seem like the mystery that is always just beyond my reach. Something that draws and frightens me.
Oh, Grazia. Grazia, don't be afraid of me. I am Circe, who needs your warmth and your beauty more than any man could need them.
Do you need me?
Grazia, listen to me. I am a great power, and I am humble before you. And tonight I must go back to my distant kingdom.
Will you take me?
Take you?
Yes, I should be so unhappy alone. Take me with you.
No, I must not. But, Grazia, let me hold you once and feel your life. You're the meaning of beauty that I must know. Grazia, let me hold you and feel that last ecstasy and know that I have lived.
Oh, my love, my love, my love.
If they'd only come back. He must come back.
All we can do is wait.
What if he doesn't come back?
He knows I broke my promise. He'll come back.
And Grazia?
I don't know. I don't know.
What time it is?
Oh, Grazia, no. Why speak of time?
Is it almost dawn or midnight or early in the evening? Oh, Sergei, how you've made the hours run together.
My love.
My love. When you say the bell rings somewhere in my heart.
And now in mine.
Why do you sigh?
It is almost time.
To go?
Yes.
And I'll be with you. I always will now, you know. Oh, Sergei, I should have been so unhappy all alone.
Grazia. Oh, Grazia.
Father.
Your Grace, have you found... Oh, Grazia. Grazia, how could you? This man...
Oh, my host, you have broken your promise.
Oh, Your Highness. You came to this house asking to be received as immortal. You said no harm would come to us.
Yes.
No harm has come. I have found my love.
There is a code among men, sir, which requires that one shall not violate good faith. I asked you, sir, to respect that code.
Because I assumed your flesh, must I assume your weakness?
But, Father, listen to me. No harm has come to any of us.
Your Highness, be as generous as you are great. You came in search of human experience. Compassion, sir, is the highest emotion man can know. I beg of you for the life of Grazia.
And
I beg you.
Father, Corrado!
What do you want me to do?
Before you take Grazia away, tell her who you are and let her choose.
Who he is?
Let her see your face. As I first saw it.
No. Even Grazia was born to fear this face.
Fear you? But why?
Show her your face. You gave me your word.
All right. You've talked enough. I'm caught by my own folly. I gave myself life and with it the little rules by which it is lived. And now I must bow to those rules. What a sublime joke.
Sergei, tell me why you are unhappy suddenly. And Father and Corrado, too.
If you understood...
I want to understand. I must. You see, soon Prince Sergei and I are going to be together always.
Grazia, you can't.
But why not?
Because he is going far away, to a distant country. You could not live there.
But I couldn't live here without him. He's kind, Father, and more tender than anyone I've ever known. You always said to me I acted as if I were waiting for someone. I know now I was waiting for him.
Grazia, you do not know what you are saying.
But, Father, why should you cry? Why are you all so strange? And why is it so dark? I wish you would be happy with me. I found my love, and there ought to be lights and music.
Speak to her, one of you, and tell her what you will.
But what is there to tell? Do you think there's anything I don't understand now? I love you, and no matter where you go, I'll go with you.
Your Highness, you must tell her. It's almost midnight.
I know. Grazia, I came to this house as a jest and made my love to you as a jest.
But why are you trying to destroy my love? Because they wish it? It was not a jest.
Grazia, stop smiling at me. It's true. Someone tell her quickly while there is time. Corrado, she's cold. Take her in your arms and give her warmth.
Grazia. Grazia, don't you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Grazia, won't you stay with me?
I can't, Corrado.
Grazia.
Duke Lamberto, there is only a moment. Say what you must or she is lost.
Grazia, my baby. My darling. Come into my arms. Grazie, don't you hear me? It is your father.
Father, I must go with him.
Grazia, listen to me while there is still time. If you went with me, you could never come back to them again.
You are my love.
You, her father. You, her betrothed. You still wish me to show her my face and destroy this happiness?
You must.
Grazia, my love. There is no more time left for me. Lamberto, Corrado, goodbye, my friends. Remember that there is only a moment of shadow between your life and mine. And when I call, come bravely through that shadow, and you shall find me only your familiar friend. Grazia, look at me. See me as I am. Look at my face. Look, Grazia.
But I've always seen you like that. You are not changed.
You have seen me like this?
Yes. You seem beautiful to me. So kind a face. So full of the promise of eternal peace. Peace for those who suffer. Peace for those who are weary of the years. Yes. I think it is beautiful face I can. Oh, my love. Give me your hand. I'm going with you.
Then there is the love which casts out fear, and I have found it. And love is greater than illusion and as strong as death.
You have just heard Mr. Ronald Coleman and Miss Ingrid Bergman in Arch Oboler's radio dramatization of Death Takes a Holiday. Louis Van Ruten was the Duke, and Hans Conried played the role of Corrado. The original music was composed and conducted by Gordon Jenkins. In a moment, Miss Bergman will join Mr. Coleman to talk by shortwave with two American Coast Guardsmen at their base in Naples, Italy. But first, a word from Autolite. Keeping the essential wheels turning on American cars, trucks, and tractors is most important. The automobile dealers, garages, mechanics, and servicemen who are seeing the job is done deserve our thanks and our help. You can help if you'll do this. First, see your car is checked regularly so that trouble is corrected before it becomes serious. And, if at all possible, arrange ahead to have repair work done. And then, see your car is in the shop or service station promptly at the time arranged. That helps your serviceman. When it comes to spark plugs, Autolite Plug Check Inspection Service, offered exclusively by Autolite spark plug dealers, will help keep your spark plugs at top efficiency. Correct spark plugs contribute to good gas mileage, easy start, full power. Faulty or improper plugs can waste gas and make engines hard to start. Cleaning and regapping may be all your present spark plugs need. Tests conducted by the American Automobile Association show Autolite Plug Check Inspection Service may increase gas mileage as much as 12%. As a first step in helping your serviceman keep your car or truck in top condition, ask for a plug check now. All right, Mr. Coleman, the circuit is through to Naples, Italy.
All right. And now, Ingrid, we'll put on our 7-league boots, skip over a continent, hop an ocean, and go visiting over there.
All right, my boots are on, Ronnie.
That's fine. And now you'd better put this earphone on, too. Well, here we go. This is Ronald Coleman and Ingrid Bergman in Hollywood, calling the United States Coast Guard in Naples, Italy. Come in, Naples.
Hello, Hollywood. This is Commander Joe Carrick speaking. And Chief Yeoman Glenn Nelson standing by.
Hello, fellows. How are you?
Splendid, Mr. Coleman. Is Miss Bergman there, too?
Yes, right here. Hello, boys.
Hello, Miss Bergman. This is the happiest moment of my life.
Glenn, we talked to your wife in Sayreville, New Jersey. She sent her love and also some news about Glenda, your daughter.
Well, that's swell.
She's only 17 months old, but Glenda can say Daddy, Mama, Grandma, Grandpa, car, and bye-bye.
Good for her. I got home after sea duty 2 days after she was born, and it seems 1,000 years since I left her.
Well, Glenn, we can't get you two together right now, but we'll do the best we can. We're going to send a record of your voice to little Glenda.
Gosh, thanks, Mr. Coleman. Glenda, honey, this is your daddy talking. There's a lot I want to tell you, but here's just a thing or two for now. Your grandpa and grandma live in a little town named Independence, Iowa. So, sweetheart, when you wonder why your daddy is not at home, just remember the name of that town, Independence. And, honey, I have a picture of you and Mummy on my desk. That's another picture beside it, too, a picture of Abraham Lincoln. That's 3 reasons why our daddy is away. So when he comes home, it'll be Independence everywhere.
That was wonderful, Glenn.
Yes, and that's a message for all of us over here.
Nelson meant it, too. He really has that picture of Abe Lincoln with
Commander, we know you've been 20 years in the Coast Guard. Is it true that you manned the invasion landing craft?
That's right.
And what a job you're all doing. How do you like Naples, Commander?
Well, I prefer sea duty, but I like Naples better than the Atlantic escort run I had for 10 months. That was the coldest ever. I think my nose is still frozen.
Well, I know a little how you feel. I visited the troops in Alaska, and my nose froze, too. Commander, we got in touch with your wife, Alice, and daughter, Joan Marie, in Oxnard, California. They are fine.
Thanks, Miss Bergman. I always wanted to thank you.
Thank me for what, Commander?
For a memory.
A memory?
Yes, the memory of a song. You know, an old song can be sentimental, too, Miss Bergman. I saw you in Casablanca, and I'll never forget the melody of As Time Goes By.
Well, Commander, I'll never forget it either.
Miss Bergman, how about singing it for us?
Now, wait a minute. You know, I didn't sing that in Casablanca.
Yes, but I'm sure you know it.
Well, of course, I've heard it many times, and if I may have some musical help, I'll try it for you. You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh's just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. And when two lovers woo, they still say, I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings, as time goes by.
Very good. That was wonderful, wasn't it, men?
Sensational. Don't know how to thank you, Miss Bergman.
Well, I'll thank her for you, Joe.
Is that you, Alice?
Yes, that's right, Commander. It's your wife. We brought her down to the studio from Oxnard.
And me too, Daddy.
Oh, Joan Marie, darling.
Hello, Daddy.
Hello, honey. How's my girl?
Just fine. You ought to see me, Daddy. I'm getting awfully grown up. Oh, gosh, Mother wants to talk to. Joe, we have just a minute. We found a new house and have just moved in. It's on 8th Street. We hope you'll soon be home to see it.
Oh, that's fine, Alice.
Time's up, Mr. Coleman.
Well, time's up, men.
We miss you, Joe. Good night, Daddy. Here's a kiss.
Good night, Alice and Joan, and you, Mr. Coleman, and Miss Bergman. It's been great.
And that goes for me, too. Good night.
Good night, men.
Good night.
Good night.
And God bless you.
We've all heard of the magnificent, life-saving work the Red Cross is doing, tending the sick and wounded. But there is another kind of sickness the Red Cross takes care of, homesickness. To millions of men overseas, the Red Cross clubs mean a glimpse of home. Naturally, such clubs cost money to maintain. But if your contribution could ease the heart of a single homesick boy, could you find it in your heart to turn him down? I think not.
Join us next week when the Electric Autolite Company again presents Everything for the Boys, your new global half hour, uniting the home front with the fighting fronts overseas. Your host, Mr. Ronald Coleman, will have as his guest Miss Ruth Chatterton in Arch Oboler's radio adaptation of the comedy Holy Matrimony. Following the play, Mr. Coleman and Miss Chatterton will speak by shortwave with 2 United States Marines stationed somewhere in the Central Pacific.
Until next week, when Ruth Chatterton will be our guest, as well as 2 fighting Marines in the Pacific, this is Ronald Coleman saying good night to you and the boys, and God be with you.
This program is shortwave all over the world. This is Frank Martin saying good night for Autolite.
Ingrid Bergman appeared tonight through the courtesy of David O. Selznick, whose newest picture, Since You Went Away, featuring 7 top-flight stars, will soon be released. Louis Van Ruten is soon to be seen in the Paramount picture, The Hitler Gang. This program has come to you from Hollywood and Naples, Italy. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
I'm the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Tonight, it's the Whistler's strange story, Designed for Murder.
The trio in the railroad station cocktail lounge seemed typical of many groups awaiting the departures of their trains. They were Charles Gilbert, his wife Edna, and her close friend Myrene Walker, who chatted ceaselessly, voicing her envy at not being able to join Edna on the trip. Myrene loved trains, loved desert vacation resorts. In fact, she seemed to love everything. Charles, on the other hand, seemed lost in thought or patient resignation until...
Now, we've been so anxious to have me out of town, Charles.
Well, now, what do you mean by that?
Well, you seem very insistent. And at a time when the business needs me so.
How do you like that, Myrene? She doesn't want to go. Thinks the jewelry business will go to pot. Thinks her husband plans a rendezvous with another woman.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Drink your drink, Edna. You too, Charles. Well, I'll feel better. I'd feel better if I knew why you can't go along, Charles.
I told you I'll be busy. Also, I want you to go alone. You'll rest more. And you do need her. Look at her, Myrene, not able to keep her hands still.
Doodling on the menu. Oh, give me that pen. Oh, sorry. I'm always doodling. It's a design I was thinking of. A piece of costume jewelry.
Well, stop thinking of anything like that. And since it's going to bother you, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to be doing, dear. It was to be a surprise.
A surprise?
Mm-hmm. We talked about a beach house, remember? On Lido Isle?
I remember talking about it.
Well, I bought one. A beautiful place. I'm having it all remodeled inside. I have to be there.
Charles, you didn't.
I did. Oh, don't be too grateful because, well, it's mostly your money.
Well, I don't cherish the thought. Charles, I feel much better about the trip now.
You do? Well, then give me your handkerchief. Look at it, Myrene.
Torn to shreds by Edna.
When she's not doodling, she's tearing up her handkerchief. She's got to be doing something every minute. And she wonders why I want her to rest. My dear, you're going to relax, or I'll know the reason why.
I'm sorry.
Finally, she leaves on the train, doesn't she, Charles? And you're free. You see Myrene to a cab. Hurry back to the cocktail lounge. Go directly to a corner booth and slip in beside someone who's been waiting for you. Not too patiently.
I'm sorry, Helen.
Oh, darling, I am too. Sorry that we have to practice this deception. Kiss me.
Oh, dear, we really shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. Here, I ordered you a drink.
I can use it. Well, at least we'll have some time together. Uninterrupted.
You're sure Edna will stay away for a while?
Mm-hmm. She's gone for a month.
It wasn't fun watching you kiss her goodbye.
Oh, I know. Well, someday.
I hope it's soon, Charlie.
Look, I'll pick you up tomorrow. We'll drive down to the place at Lido Isle. Oh, you'll love it. I've been using quite a few of your ideas in redecorating the place.
It sounds wonderful.
It is. Well, come on. I'll drive you home.
She's an exciting girl, isn't she, Charles? You have difficulty getting around to saying good night to Helen. And only the thought of seeing her again the next day finally makes it possible. It's quite late when you arrive back home and let yourself into the house. You're scarcely inside when...
That's odd. Who could that be? Myrene.
Yes, little Myrene. I'd like to come in, Charles. I want to talk to you.
Why, of course.
I'll come straight to the point. It wasn't a very pretty sight, Charles, seeing you kiss that girl right after bidding Edna goodbye.
Oh, why...
Go on. Make it good.
Oh, you wouldn't say anything to her about this, would you?
That depends on you. I don't suppose you've made any dates for the future with her.
Oh, certainly not.
You know, Charles, you weren't kidding when you made that remark about Edna's money. You've had it pretty easy since becoming her business manager. And now her husband.
Myrene, this girl means nothing, I swear it. I won't see her again. Look, in a few days, you and Arthur drop down to the place at Lido Isle. You'll see all that I'm doing for Edna. I'll take you around the place. We can relax, go for a swim.
I don't swim, Charles. And when my best friend's husband starts two-timing her, I don't feel like relaxing either.
Myrene, I've told you.
I've heard you. And I've told you, Charles. You stay away from that girl.
In just 30 seconds, the Whistler will continue tonight's story.
Don't be half right. Use USAFI. For example, how many amendments in our United States Constitution make up the Bill of Rights? Would you say 5? No, that's only half right. Brush up on your American government. Tell your I&E officer you want to study with the United States Armed Forces Institute, USAFI. It's easy. It's simple. If you don't want to be half right, use USAFI.
And now, back to the Whistler.
It's going badly, isn't it, Charles? Myrene knows about your girlfriend, Helen. She knows that it was more than husbandly concern that prompted you to encourage your wife, Edna, to leave town on a vacation. A rest cure for her nervousness. Myrene has always been Edna's best friend. And she'll tell her the truth if you don't do something to reassure her that you don't intend to see Helen again. You wish you could contact Helen. Prevent her from keeping her date with you the following day at the house on Lido Isle. And you're terribly nervous all the time she's there with you.
What is it, Charlie? You haven't heard anything I've said.
Oh, yes, I have, Helen. It's just, I'm a little jumpy.
Well, I thought with your wife out of town.
Helen, we've got to talk about that. It isn't as perfect as it seems.
Oh?
Our friend of Edna's, Myrene Walker, she knows about us.
Knows what about us?
Well, not everything, of course. She thinks it's a Casual thing that we're old friends, happen to run into one another. But
if she continues to see us together...
That's right. She'll go to Edna. Now, Helen, we've got to forget about it for a while.
Forget about it?
Well, you know I don't mean that exactly.
I guess not. You promised me you were going to talk to Edna. Ask for a divorce.
I know, and I intend to, but it can't be right away, Helen. I have my reasons. Well, right now, it's important that you leave, that we're not seen together.
Well, all right, Charlie. I won't need a second invitation.
Well, now, wait a
I've
minute.
waited long enough as it is. Quite long enough. Goodbye.
But, Helen,
Goodbye, Charles.
She's gone, isn't she, Charles? And only a few moments later, you hear her car start up and roar away. And you're alone. Alone in the house that you were supposed to be remodeling for your wife, Edna. And as the hours of the afternoon drag by into the night, you find yourself hating the place. And you'll always hate it. Unless somehow, soon, the house can be yours and Helen's. Just how you're going to bring that about isn't quite clear to you yet, is it? How you'll get rid of your wife, Edna. It's on your mind all the next day. And that evening, as you sit alone at the beach home, you're still thinking about it. When suddenly you're aware of a noise outside.
Irene? Well. This is a surprise.
Hello, Charles.
Snooping around, were you?
Oh, all right. Call it that if you want.
You're wasting your time, really. I'm quite alone.
Are you?
Of course. Come on in, Myrene. I'd like to show you around the place.
Like a child caught at the cookie jar, Myrene follows you inside. She's nervous, ill at ease. Avoid your gaze as you show her about the house. And then finally, the two of you end up at the boat landing.
Well, what do you think of it, Myrene?
Well, it's very nice, Charles.
You think Edna will like it?
No, I don't. This isn't the sort of house Edna would like at all. It just doesn't suit her personality, let's say.
Really?
I'm sure there isn't a thing here that would interest her. Outside of that unusual painting in the living room.
Now, that's rather nice, isn't it? Impressionistic, I believe they call that sort of thing.
To me, it looks almost like a dragon about to devour something.
Well, Edna likes offbeat things like that. I bought it especially for her. A surprise.
Oh, really, Charles?
Just what does that mean?
May I be blunt?
Oh, please, feel free.
You didn't buy this house for Edna. When does Helen move in?
Now, see here, Myrene.
You see here. It's a glamorous place, Charles. Exciting. You just match her baby blue eyes.
Myrene, you're going
You're not fooling me for 1 minute. You won't fool Edna either. She's going to know all about this.
You're not going to tell her about Helen.
Edna's my best friend.
Irene, I think I've had just about enough of your meddling.
Sir Charles, wait.
Just about enough.
You stay away from me.
I ought to wring your neck, you little snoop.
No, Charles. Charles!
As she turns and starts to run, Myrene trips. You reach out to grab her, but you're too late. And she plunges off the end of the boat landing.
Charles! Help me! Help me! I can't swim! Charles!
You stand there staring down at her, struggling in the water. She can't swim, Charles. She'll drown if you don't help her. And you don't help her, do you, Charles? 2 hours later, you're back in your house in town, where you await the inevitable call.
Hello?
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes?
This is Frank Stanley over on East Shore, one of your neighbors.
Oh, yes, Mr. Stanley. Good morning.
Would have called you sooner, except I have the devil's own time getting hold of your phone number up there in town.
Oh, what is it? Something wrong?
Well, yeah, a woman drowned off the island last night.
What's that?
Yeah, fished her out of the water a couple hours ago. Tom Jenkins, he runs the gas station, said this woman asked directions to your place last night.
To my place?
I thought you'd probably know her. Police found a purse on your boat landing. Identified her as Myrene Walker.
Myrene? Good Lord, Myrene.
You do know her?
Yes. Yes, she's a very dear friend of my wife.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Gilbert.
Well, this probably wouldn't have happened if I'd been out there last night. I'd planned to, but business kept me here in town. Myrene must have come out to visit us, wandered around in the dark.
Yeah, that's the way I figured, too.
Well, thank you. Thank you for calling, Mr. Stanley. I'll get in touch with my wife right away.
You smile, don't you, Charles, as you hang up the receiver? It's all over now. Myrene is dead. You could have saved her, but you didn't. You couldn't have her telling your wife about Helen, could you? Later that day, you send a wire to Edna at the resort. Inform her that you have some bad news. Ask her to return immediately. And that evening, you're back at the house on Lido Isle. As you hurry up the path, you're startled to see a light burning in the living room. Helen. Yes. She's probably paid you a surprise visit.
Good evening, Charles.
Edna.
Found the key under the mat, so I came on in. I've been waiting hours for you.
But I don't understand. I sent the telegram only a few hours ago.
Telegram? You must have missed me. I left the resort this morning.
But why?
Here. Perhaps this will explain.
A letter?
Myrene sent it to me.
Myrene?
Yes, Myrene. She told me all about your little friend, Helen.
Oh, now, Edna, surely you don't believe
Myrene wouldn't lie.
But, Edna, listen,
You needn't bother to deny it, Charles.
But you've got to let me explain.
Let's drop the matter here and now. You see, Charles, I've thought it over very carefully. I've decided to forgive you.
Forgive me?
Yes. I'm really much more to blame for Helen than you are.
Oh, I don't understand.
Perhaps I drove you to her. I haven't been a very good wife, Charles. More than a little neglectful. Thinking too much about business and not enough about us. Our home. Our marriage.
Well, we haven't been as close in the past few years as we used to be.
I know. It's my fault. I'm willing to forget all this, Charles. But, of course, you must forget Helen.
Oh, of course.
Fix me a drink, will you? I could use one.
All right. I could use one myself.
Charles.
Yes?
You said something about a telegram.
Oh. Yes. Yes.
Well?
Bad news, I'm afraid. It's about Myrene.
What's happened?
Well, apparently she came out here last night while I was in town. While she was wandering around outside in the dark, she fell off the boat landing.
What?
She drowned, Edna. The police recovered her body this morning.
Myrene? Drowned?
Easy now, darling. Oh, it's a terrible shock, I know. Here, this will help.
Oh, Charles. Charles, you poor dear.
Oh, if I'd been here, I don't suppose it would have happened. At least the lights at the boat landing would have been on. And
wait a moment. You said you were in town.
Yes, at the house all evening.
But you weren't.
What?
You weren't at the house in town. I know because I called you from the resort half a dozen times. There was no answer.
But I tell you, Edna,
where were you last night? Charles, where were you when Myrene had her accident? Answer me.
Listen, Edna,
you were here when Myrene came. She knew about Helen, and you were afraid she'd tell me. You didn't know she'd already sent me this letter, did you?
Did you?
All right, so I won't here.
And Myrene's death wasn't so accidental, was it?
Wait a minute. Where are you going?
To the sheriff's office.
Edna, listen.
Let go of me,
I
Charles.
didn't have a thing to do with Myrene's death. You've got to believe me. It was an accident.
Let the police decide that. No. Let go, I said.
No, Edna. You're not going to the police.
Charles. Don't look at me like that. What? You...
Edna.
She's fainted, hasn't she, Charles? And looking down at Edna lying unconscious before you, a thought suddenly occurs to you. It's a way out, isn't it? A way out for you and Helen. Quickly, you pick up the folded sheet of paper, the letter Myrene wrote to Edna, and stuff it into your pocket. Then you carry Edna outside, place her in the car that she drove down, drive it into the garage. Close the garage doors, leaving the motor running, and wait. Later that same night, you drive Edna's body back to town in her car. Put it in the garage. Again, leave the motor running as you close the garage doors.
Sorry, Edna. So long.
All of us are proud of our hometowns, and rightly so. In this brief moment before we continue with our program, we'd like to offer a salute to one of our hometowns in America, Indianapolis, Indiana. Capital of the state and a great transportation center, Indianapolis' extensive trade is based on the rich territory which surrounds it. Large coal fields, tremendous deposits of building stone, and one of the richest sections of corn and wheat in the world. But perhaps one of the best-known features of the city to the world at large is the Indianapolis Speedway. It was built in 1909 as a proving ground for automobiles, and each Memorial Day, the famous 500-mile race is held there. From the experience gained in this annual event have come many improvements in automobiles. Every time you used your rear vision mirror, every time you filled your tank with ethyl gasoline, every time you appreciated the comfort of your improved tires, you were giving credit to something that was first used on that speedway. Indianapolis has its famous citizens, too. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd President of the United States, called it his hometown. So did James Whitcomb Riley, the great Hoosier poet. And it was the birthplace of General Walter Beadle Smith, Chief of Staff of the American forces in Europe during World War II. Nearly 500,000 people live in Indianapolis today, and they're proud of the part their hometown has played in the building of America.
And now, back to The Whistler.
You've carried it off very well, haven't you, Charles? The role of the worried husband, concerned over his wife's whereabouts, and your phone call to the police brings quick results. An hour later, the sheriff calls on you at the house on Meadow Isle, quietly informs you of your wife's death, carbon monoxide in the garage of your home in town. You continue to play the part now of the grief-stricken husband, and inwardly you're pleased, certain your performance has more than convinced the sheriff. And then...
Mr. Gilbert, you said you were alone down here last night.
Yes, that's right. I waited all night for my wife to show up.
You sure she didn't?
No, of course not. She's never set foot in this house. I bought it only a few days ago, shortly before she went on a vacation.
I see.
Why did you ask me that?
Well, I was just looking at the painting of that dragon. Impressionistic stuff, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
I understand your wife was always drawing. Quite a doodler.
Yeah. It was just a nervous habit, though.
Now, I was sort of wondering about that dragon design. Looks kind of familiar.
It's an original.
Huh? Sure is different.
It was a present from my wife.
She didn't get to see it.
Yeah. Maybe you better have a look at this.
A letter?
No letter, just an envelope. It's addressed to your wife from someone named Myrene Walker. We found it in your wife's coat pocket.
Well, what about it?
Turn it over.
All right, but I don't...
Now, I'd say that drawing was the work of a nervous doodler, wouldn't you, Mr. Gilbert? And if your wife never set foot in this house, how is it the sketch on the back of that envelope is a doodler's copy of that weird dragon painting on the wall? Well, Mr. Gilbert.
Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Lorene Tuttle, Jack Edwards, Lois Corbett, and Jack Moyle. The Whistler, directed by Gordon T. Hughes, with music by Wilbur Hatch, is written and produced by Joel Malone and transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service.
Presenting The Whisperer, starring Carlton Young. The Whisperer, a brilliant man who, losing his voice in an accident which crushed his vocal cords, worked his way deep within the crime syndicate to help destroy it from within. To the underworld, his familiar rattling hiss is the voice of authority, to be obeyed without question. Then a miracle of surgery performed by Dr. Benjamin Lee restored his natural voice, enabling him to resume his real identity. Now, as Philip Gault, aggressive young attorney, he skirts the thin edge of death, living his dual role. For as the Whisperer, he sets in motion the forces of the syndicate in Central City. Then, as Philip Gault, uses his knowledge to fight the organized network of crime which seeks to control the fate of millions in cities and towns across the nation. The only person besides Dr. Lee who knows the Whisperer's real identity is the doctor's nurse, Ellen Norris. Now she watches as Philip Gault, using his Whisperer's voice, reports to his superiors in the syndicate.
Central City reporting.
Go ahead, Central City.
Instructions given to Saugus.
Report back when mission is accomplished.
What has Tony Powers done to the syndicate?
Tony?
I know him very well. He's almost like a father to me. His daughter Margaret and I grew up together. Why are they after him?
Well, Ellen, he's a man of great courage and integrity. And as chairman of the Liquor Control Board, he sees to it that no syndicate underling gets a liquor license.
And they don't like that.
Well, Mr. Powers' successor is already in the pay of the syndicate. When the new man in charge, they own most of the licenses.
Why the time element? Why must it be done by 6 o'clock?
Ellen, in our state, one license is issued for every 2,000 persons. The syndicate is lobbying a bill through the legislature to reduce this number to one license for every 500 people.
Well, which, of course, would go to their men.
Yes. Anthony Powers is leaving for the capital tomorrow night. He has enough influence to defeat the bill.
So another honest man is to die so that crooks can reap more dishonest dollars.
Unless we can find a way to stop them.
Phil, it's horrible the way that octopus of crime is invading every phase of our lives.
And will continue to until an aroused and enlightened public decides to safeguard their welfare and that of their children.
Yes, especially their children. Every paper is filled with the stories of juvenile dope addiction.
And that's the most frightening internal menace of our time, Ellen. I'm afraid it'll continue until each parent awakens to the realization that his son and his daughter are actually targets.
Well, if I were a parent, I'd make a definite point to educate them to the inevitable wreckage of addiction.
And I'd go a step farther. I'd make certain that within the realm of possibility, I'd always know where they were and with whom and what they were doing.
My mother's 11 o'clock curfew used to irk me, but most parental supervision would cut down on several things which corrode and destroy during the recklessness of adolescence. Oh, Phil, I wish you were out of the whole stinking mess.
Ellen.
I know your association with the syndicate enables you to fight it, but...
Now, we'd better do something to safeguard Anthony Powell if we can.
Will they try intimidation first?
Yes. Even the syndicate shies from murder unless absolutely necessary.
If they try intimidation, they'll probably include Margaret in their plans. She's the only family he has, and he adores her.
Ellen, you've just made a job for yourself. Phone Margaret. Tell her you've missed her. Invite her for lunch. Anything that will enable you to spend the day with her. Do you have her phone number?
I've called it 1,000,000 times.
Well, here. Make it 1,000,001.
Since you're sending me out to be a clay pigeon, perhaps we'd better make it a shopping tour. It'll give me a chance to buy Maggie a new horoscope. She dotes on astrology.
Hello?
Is this a good day or a bad day?
A good one, but my horoscope says to be aware of old friends. Who is this?
Ellen Norris.
Ellen, I haven't seen you in years. Dad and I were talking about you just last night. What prompted this wonderful surprise?
I suddenly had the urge to see you. Are you free for lunch?
Yes. In fact, I planned a shopping tour this afternoon. We'll make it a day, huh? And try on absurd hats at outrageous prices which we wouldn't be caught dead.
Sounds like fun.
Give me an hour and then meet me at Jason's.
I'll be there.
Bye-bye.
Everything's set.
Good. Now stay with her and wangle an invitation for dinner if possible. Being a woman, you should have no trouble in carrying on a running conversation for 7 or 8 hours. Now, I'll call Powers and warn him to take precautions.
Anthony Powers.
Mr. Powers, the syndicate has marked you for death.
Isn't 2 calls in an hour rather putting it on thick?
If you resign...
I don't know you or the other man who called, but I do know whom you represent. And you can tell the scum that hires you that I don't scare and I can't be bought.
He hung up. Saugus had already called him, Ellen. Now, while you're getting ready for lunch, I'll invent a mythical client who has 1,000,000 questions to ask about applying for a liquor license. I'll give Anthony Powers a bodyguard without his knowing it. Mr. Powers?
Come in, Gold. Come in.
Thank you.
As I told you when you phoned for an appointment, I'm busy trying to get off to the capital tonight.
Well, I'm sorry to intrude, but you'll be gone several days, and my client is impatient.
We'll go into the library.
Oh, Dad. Dad, guess who called for lunch?
I've no idea. My dear, this is Mr. Galt. My daughter, Margaret.
How do you do?
It's my pleasure. May I presume on a short acquaintance and tell you who your luncheon companion will be?
Why, of course.
Ellen Norris.
How did you know that?
Well, it's written in the stars.
Are you interested in astrology? I was born under the sign of Capricorn.
I was born under Sagittarius.
And I was born under the sign of Pica, the boo.
Oh. Dad is not impressed by horoscopes. Do you know Ellen?
My dearest friend. She told me she was lunching with you.
Oh, Dad, your train doesn't leave until 10. I'd like to have Ellen and Mr. Galt's dinner if you don't mind.
If you'll excuse a hasty departure.
Delighted.
Taxi us at 7-ish, huh? Oh, I must run or I'll be late.
Goodbye, Margaret.
Bye.
Drive carefully. As if she would. Have a seat, Galt.
Oh, thanks.
I've heard you in court several times. Wanted to meet you before now. Wish we had more time to get acquainted. Drink?
No, thanks. Before launching into the business of my client, what are the chances of this bill being lobbied through the legislature?
Once I reach the Capitol, I can defeat it.
And if something happened to you?
I've already had 2 phone calls today threatening me.
Oh? In your place, I'd take them seriously.
They'd never dare make an attempt on my life. The resulting publicity and investigation would endanger the syndicate. Why, they'd never dare.
Down, get down!
No need to. He missed.
But the second time
There won't be a second time. That was intended to frighten me.
That shot must have come from that wooded section.
Undoubtedly.
Since it lies between this house and the city, whoever fired the shot is probably on his way into town.
Pursuit is useless.
However, if we made inquiries...
Excuse me. Hello?
That was just a sample. You want any more?
If you think your cheap tactics will cause my resignation...
Oh, tough boy, huh? Okay, Powers, you ask for it and you'll get it.
Powers, if that shot was fired from the woods, where could the killer find a phone so quickly?
Around the bend of the road, there's a filling station.
Well, come on. If the attendant remembers seeing him, we'll at least have some idea of his identity.
Welcome. Fill her up?
Nothing, thanks.
Okay, I'll clean your windshield. Hey, how about a complete service today? Lubrication, wash job, front wheel repacked, upholstery dusted, battery water checked, new air put in your tires for only $7.95.
No, thank you. We only
you better have it. You save $4 that way. Hey, how about filling the tank?
This is important.
Well, you think selling gas ain't? How far would this baby run if nobody sold it?
Shut up.
Huh?
I said shut up.
Oh, hiya, Mr. Powers. Didn't recognize you. You usually come in that old wreck.
Never mind. About 3 minutes before we drove in here, an hour ago, a man stopped, made a phone call, and left.
Well, how do you know? You an astrologist? Hey, I was born under the sign of...
Taurus the bull.
Yeah.
But tell me about this man.
Oh, you tell me. He's your guy.
What do you look like?
Well, he was, kind of medium.
Medium height, medium weight, medium width, medium what?
Oh, just medium.
Would you know him if you saw him again?
Oh, look, mister, I don't miss much.
Then you would know him.
No.
What model car was he driving?
47.
47 coupe, 47 sedan, 47 convertible, 47 what?
47 car.
Oh, great. What color?
Color?
Blue, green, red, two-toned?
No, none of them. No, I think it was...
what?
Dirty. Yeah, I remember trying to sell him a wash job.
Young man, a woman's life depends upon you remembering these things.
Well, gosh, Mr. Powers, I'm sorry, but... Hey, why don't you ask your daughter?
Why? What has Margaret got to do with this?
Well, she passed by right after this guy phoned, see? He asked me if that wasn't Margaret Powers, and I said yes, and then he tore out of here right on... Hey, don't forget me now. We're running complete service down
We're having lunch with Jason's.
Open it up, Galt. I'll fix any tickets we get. Margaret's my one weakness, and they know it. There's only one thing in the world which could make me resign. Her safety.
While Phil and Anthony Powers speed toward the restaurant, Margaret Powers, unaware that she is being followed by Saugus, enters the fashionable cafe.
Ellen, you look wonderful. Just like you stepped out of the pages of Harper's.
I bought this suit the year Harper's was founded. Oh, Maggie, it's good to see you. The last time was the night we split a blind date.
As I remember it, they deserved an even worse fate. Spanish?
I'm too excited to be hungry.
Oh, well, then let's window shop until we work up an appetite, huh? Okay. There's a certain sales girl I enjoy in Sothern.
Same old Maggie. Oh, I'm glad we're doing this.
So am I.
Let's window shop the Harms. Their $200 wash presses are on sale for $99.50.
Now, one of my dearest friends has one. It resembles a warmed-over potato sack. Imported, of course. Incidentally, I like your Mr. Galt.
Phil? Oh, where did you run into him?
He's out at the house. Oh, let's go in here. They've got the most wonderful freckle cream. It makes fried freckles look like boiled freckles.
Just so they aren't rare.
Mr. Galt mentioned it to his friend, so I invited him to dinner tonight.
Oh?
Using you as a lure, I said you'd be there.
Oh.
You like it?
Very much.
Oh, look, a clearance on stoves.
Only $3.98.
That's a steal on stoves. Only I don't need one. Well, let's go see Miss Mudcat.
Miss Mudcat?
Yes, she demonstrates facial mud, and I detest her. So every time I come in, I insist that she demonstrate it. When her face is all colored, I decide not to buy.
Oh, no.
Oh, Ellen, look at this. Oh.
Pardon me, I was following too closely on your heels.
You're the man who followed me into the parking lot.
I assure you I've followed much worse, but you're mistaken.
Oh, no, I'm not. You almost took my bumper.
My dear young lady, you're mistaken. Now, you must excuse me.
Oh, not bad.
Margaret, do you really think he's following you?
Oh, I hope so. Next to buying a new hat, nothing gives the lift.
But if he came here from the parking lot...
Relax, honey. Just coincidence. Don't get excited.
Excited? Why, I guess it's foolish. Let's forget it.
I think I resent your implication. After all, my equipment isn't so bad.
Oh, Maggie, you'll never change.
Oh, Ellie, I've had a wonderful brainstorm. It's such a wonderful day. Let's get my wonderful car and drive out to the wonderful country casino for lunch.
Wonderful.
I'm parked just around the corner.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, you wouldn't bump into people if you stopped looking behind you.
I'm expecting my dark past to overtake me.
You're much too young to have accumulated a pair.
I thought I saw someone I recognized.
Someone I know?
No, it's someone I don't think you'd care to know.
A few minutes later, Anthony Powers and Philip Galt double park in front of Chasen's. Phil runs quickly into the restaurant and almost as quickly returns to the car.
She wasn't there. They met in the lobby and then went somewhere else.
Trying to find them in this shopping crowd would be almost impossible.
No, that's in our favor. Killer will either lose her in the crowd or be unable to get close enough to harm her and still make his getaway.
Galt, shall I call in the police?
Whatever you think best. It might force his hand.
Is she in real danger?
I don't know, Powers. I can't answer that.
Relax, Ellen. You're wearing out my rearview mirror.
Oh, was I doing that?
You were, but you didn't think I was watching you.
Just a habit.
No, I don't think it is. For some reason, you're afraid of that car that's been following us for the last 10 minutes.
Maybe.
I'm not stupid, Ellen. If for any reason I'm in danger, tell me about it. Give me a chance to defend myself.
Maggie, I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, look at it this way. You call after years of silence. A man bumps into me. You become excited and keep looking behind you. If you're not afraid for me, then it leaves only one other thought. A very unpleasant one.
What?
You're spotting me for whoever is or should be following us.
Maggie, I give you my word that isn't true. I wouldn't do...
Oh, what is it?
That car behind us is speeded up.
Why, it's the man from the department store.
Oh, this is too much coincidence. Turn up the side street, quickly.
He's standing too.
I don't like this. Maggie, pull over to the curb.
Well, it's too late for that.
And throw on the brakes and duck.
You are listening to The Whisperer, the story of Philip Galt, who skirts the thin edges of death, living a dual role. Philip Galt, known to the underworld as The Whisperer, has ordered the syndicate's imported killer Saugus to force Anthony Powers to resign from the Liquor Control Board. If Powers refuses to resign, then Saugus is to kill Powers. In his campaign of intimidation, Saugus has fired a burst of machine gun bullets into the car driven by Margaret Powers.
Maggie, are you all right?
I'm wiggling my fingers and toes. They say if they work, you're alive.
Let me know how you come out.
My horoscope was right. I should be aware of old friends. Ellen, how did you know this was going to happen?
Oh, Maggie, I didn't. Believe me. When you bumped into that man, I had a hunch. I watched and saw him follow us.
I see. The syndicate again. They hate my father. Well, what now?
Oh, let's venture out, and if our undercarriage doesn't fold, we'll put in a call to Phil and your dad.
Galt, if Margaret isn't here, I'm calling in the police.
I think that's very wise. Perhaps that's her.
Or news that she's been...
Daddy.
Hello?
Dad?
Margaret, are you safe?
Well, I'm shaken and bruised. How did you know about the accident?
I'll tell you later. Was Ellen injured?
Oh, no. She wants to talk to Mr. Galt.
All right. Ellen wants to talk to you.
Right. Hello, Ellen?
Yes, Phil.
What happened?
He followed us and shot at us with a machine gun.
The car was wrecked?
Yes.
Where are you now?
At a residence at the corner of Elm and Ackerd.
Well, don't either of you move until we get there.
Dynamite couldn't move me until you get here.
We'll go in your car, Galt.
Let's take two cars. As soon as I pick up Ellen, I want to get to my office.
All right, I'll just... Now, who is that?
Probably the syndicate.
Shall I answer?
I would.
Hello?
Been trying to reach you, Powers. The line was busy.
If you harm a hair on my daughter's head...
Powers, you've had 2 friendly warnings. Get smart, resign.
No.
All right, then buy your daughter a coffin.
Wait. Give me time to think it over.
That's better. I'll call you back in an hour.
Galt, I'm a coward. I can't sacrifice my daughter's life. I'll resign.
Are you phoning the papers?
Yes.
Give me an hour, Powers. Just 1 hour. Maybe I can figure an angle.
What can you do?
Give me an hour.
All right. 1 hour. No more. But, Galt, I don't think it will do any good.
Still, I don't care what he says. Tony Powers is not a coward. Why, he holds our nation's second highest award for bravery.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He served under Ridgway in World War I. Margaret and I used to play Red Cross nurse, and we'd decorate the boy heroes by reading the citation and pinning the medal on their chest.
Ellen, if you don't mind, I'm racking my brain.
I can't help it, Phil. Your dirty syndicate has won this fight, and a wonderful man's entire life is crashing around his head.
Ellen, who did you say he served under?
Ridgway.
Ridgway. Ellen, I've got an idea. Before we go into my office, count under your breath when I say go. When you think 15 seconds have elapsed, say time.
What?
It's important.
All right.
Go.
1, 2, 3. Time.
11 seconds. Come on.
What's it all about?
You speed it up.
I've played that before. Everyone speeds up.
I got to call the syndicate.
What's it all about?
They can't kill Margaret. Powers would never stop fighting them. So he is their real target. Operator, New York, circle 1798. Saugus must strike tonight. Tomorrow will be too late. For if Powers reaches the capital, he can table that bill indefinitely. Now I think I know how we can remove Saugus permanently from the scene. Shh.
Circle 1798. Central City. Go ahead, Central City. All attempts to intimidate Powers have failed. Go on. Powers and daughter are staying on the second floor of their home under heavy guard. Can machine gun be brought to bear on level trajectory? Impossible to use machine gun. Well, what do you suggest? Tonight, Anthony Powers will have 2 guests for dinner. At exactly 8 o'clock, the French doors upstairs will be opened. How does this help Saugus? A hand grenade tossed through the French doors will kill everybody in the room. Congratulations, Central City. Saugus will be so instructed.
Phil, you really fixed it. Now, instead of one person getting killed, we all get it.
Now, hurry, Ellen. We've got exactly 20 minutes to get back to Powers and ask his cooperation.
Dad's in the library.
Has anyone phoned, Margaret?
All the newspapers and wire services.
After you, Ellen.
Galt, I was afraid you weren't going to make it. The answer is due in 5 minutes.
I have a plan, but first an experiment. While I hold my watch, you and Margaret count under your breath. When you think 15 seconds have elapsed, say time.
Galt, you're no fool. There's a reason.
Yes.
You ready, Margaret?
I'm ready.
Get set. Go.
Time.
9 seconds.
Time.
11 seconds.
So?
Mr. Powers, you served in World War I.
I did.
Handle hand grenades?
Yes, of course.
What is a grenade's greatest danger?
Well, that you'll throw it too soon and the enemy will grab it, toss it back, and kill you with your own grenade.
Don't they explode on contact?
No, Ellen. They're detonated by a time mechanism. A certain number of seconds after the pin is pulled.
I know all this, Galt.
If a man is tossing a grenade which explodes in 8 seconds, he'll have an even greater tendency than you just had to rush his count.
Go on.
To explode at, say, 8 seconds, he must throw it on the count of 6. He'll probably toss it on the count of 3.5 or 4. Now, if the enemy, in this case ourselves, were waiting, caught it, there'd be a possible 4 seconds in which to toss it back.
Oh, but that's fantastic.
No, it isn't either. As an infantryman, I know. Go on.
Well, since intimidation failed, you, Mr. Powers, are the prime target of the syndicate. Now, if you live through the night, if the killer is destroyed, you can be winning the fight at the Capitol before they can get another murderer to take his place. Now, will you gamble your life on your reflexes and mine?
Galt, I'd gamble, but if the grenade were dropped...
Only you and I take the risk.
There's a hole in your theory a mile wide.
What is it, Dad?
The murderer's known preference for machine guns. He'd never fool with a grenade. Oh, the hour is up. I'll tell the syndicate they've won. I'm resigning.
Dad, you can't do it. I won't let you. I'd rather be dead than live in a country controlled by gangsters.
Don't answer it, Powers.
But
let it ring. Mr. Powers, lawyers, like doctors and newspaper reporters, have sources of underworld information that are unimpeachable.
What do you mean?
Since I left here this afternoon, I know that a grenade is to be thrown into your upstairs dining room at 8 o'clock.
How do you know?
I can't reveal my source, but I'll stand right beside you and bet my life that the information is true.
I can't take the chance. Margaret and Ellen...
No harm will come to Ellen or Margaret. Take the chance with me. If we win, the entire state benefits.
All right. I'll do it.
You took your own sweet time answering. What's it gonna be, Powers?
Tell the syndicate they know where they can go.
That's final?
Very final.
It's your funeral.
Well, Galt, we've committed ourselves.
Shake?
Shake. I've always wondered how a guinea pig feels.
We'll know for certain tonight.
Phil, Margaret said I'd find you up here in the dining room.
I wanted to recheck our plans for any slip-up.
I wanted to talk to you before dinner.
Sit here, my dear.
You know, of course, that an hour from now you...
I know.
Phil, if anything happened to you, I think I'd die.
Ellen, there's something I'd like to say to you before...
Galt, I'd like to run through it just one more time. Well, can't be too careful, you know. Now, let's see. Ellen, what do you do?
Margaret and I excuse ourselves after dessert and go into the library.
Then we push our chairs back and you offer me a cigar. I accept.
We walk to the end of the table and you light my cigar.
Then we stroll to the French doors and I open them.
Yes. Then I stop in the center of this one and you stop in the other. It's getting dark already.
Yes. The killer will probably make his way to that oleander bush.
You mean where that shadow just moved?
Shadow?
Look out!
Catch it! Grab it!
I'll get it! This is a rock.
I threw it. I wanted to test your reaction.
Oh.
I wanted to see if either of you could catch it under strain.
But Margaret will be expecting the grenade.
But you won't know at what second he'll throw it.
Is there a porch light down there?
Yes.
Well, leave it on, Margaret. I didn't even see that rock until it was already past me.
Phil, I hope you don't make the same mistake twice.
Ellen, you must make a pretense of eating.
I can't. This dessert is choking me.
And you too, Margaret. This must appear to be a normal dinner party.
2 minutes of 8.
Phil.
Margaret, you rise.
No, I...
Do as he says. Steady, dear.
Now you, Ellen. That's it. Smile at us.
Good girls. Now chat as you walk into the library. Galt, care for a cigar?
Thank you. Excellent Havana. I'll light yours for you. Now, stroll to the French doors. Keep your eye on the oleander.
I will.
Now the doors.
Beautiful night. You see him?
Indeed it is. Let me move to that bush. Watch it. Watch it. Here it comes.
Grab it.
I got it.
You dropped it. Quick, grab it. Throw it back.
Phil, Dad. Oh, Dad. Oh, thank God.
Phil.
There, dear. Cry if it'll make you feel better.
Ellen, it's all over. Everything's all right.
Oh, Galt.
Yes?
Can I offer you a drink?
You certainly may.
Good. And while you're getting yours, bring me a double. My legs have just turned to buttermilk.
Phil, if you ever take chances like that again, I'll disown you.
You won't have to disown me, Ellen. I'll never live through it a second time.
Now, I suppose you've got to call the syndicate.
Yes, but Powers and Margaret are safe. The syndicate is lost. Hello, operator, give me New York. Circle 1798. Dinner afterward?
No, I must dress up for my shopping tour tomorrow.
But you went shopping today.
My horoscope says tomorrow is a day of potential explosions. Guard against them. And that's just what I'm going to do.
Oh.
I'm going to buy a bulletproof vest.
Oh, no.
Circle 1798. Central City reporting.
Go ahead, Central City.
Sagas held on to grenade too long. State police have taken Powers and his daughter into protective custody.
I see. For further instructions, call Denver at midnight.
Denver at midnight. The Whisperer.
The Whisperer Whisperer is based upon stories and characters created by Stetson Humphrey. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Carlton Young is starred as the Whisperer. Betty Moran is Ellen. Others in the cast were Julius Kraulbein, Betty Lou Gerson, Byron Kane, and Jerry Hausner. Original music by Johnny Duffy. The Whisperer was written, produced, and directed by Bill Carnes. This is Don Rickles inviting you to listen next week to another exciting adventure with
The Whisperer.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Mysterious Traveler. Written, produced, and directed by Robert A. Arthur and David Copen. And starring tonight two of radio's foremost actors, Ralph Bell and Charlotte Holland, in Killer at Large.
This is The Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can, as we drop in on a very clever gentleman. A gentleman who perfected an ingenious plan to be rid of people he disliked without ever having to suffer for it. I call his story Killer at Large. My friend, Mr. Jeffrey Andrews, is temporarily confined to a hospital. So we're going there to meet him. He's just been given a routine checkup by a new staff physician, Dr. French.
Well, Dr. French, how am I?
You seem to be in fine physical shape, Mr. Andrews.
Guess you'll have to be letting me go soon, eh?
I certainly hope so.
Well, I've had a good rest, but I look forward to getting back in the harness again. I'm Andrews First, you know.
Andrews First?
That's the name of my business. You see, my name is Andrews.
Yes?
So I named my firm Andrews First. And all my advertising carried the line. When you think of building materials, think of Andrews First.
Oh, yes. Very clever.
Used to drive my competitors crazy with my advertising. Yes, I pulled off many a smart deal, and I always let the world in on it. After all, what's the use of doing something smart if no one knows about it?
Well, the urge to boast is certainly human.
For instance, you probably don't know why I'm here. Haven't had a chance to study my case yet, I suppose.
No, not in detail.
Oh, then sit down. I'll tell you. It's really one of the cleverest deals I've ever swung. Now, tell me, have you ever wanted to get rid of someone?
Get rid of someone? You mean, kill them?
Exactly. Kill them.
No, I don't believe I have. Why?
Because most people have at one time or another. But they don't do it. They're afraid. Afraid of the law and of being punished.
Well, that's what the law is for. To restrain people's violent impulses.
Exactly. Unless you happen to be smarter than the law, as I was. Because, you see, I figured out how to get rid of not just one person, but of two. Two people I disposed of and can't ever be punished for it.
That's an unusual achievement.
You disapprove? But I'm going to tell you how I did it. As I said, what's the use of being clever if people don't know about it? And since the law can't touch me, why not? To make it clear, Doctor, I'll go back to the very beginning. To that evening when I arrived home from work to find my wife Judith and my best friend and personal physician at that time, Alex Hearn, deep in conversation. They jumped apart guiltily as I entered the room and closed the door.
Oh, Jeff, it's you.
Yes, I left the office early. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Fine, Jeff. And you?
Oh, a little tired. I've been working late quite a bit recently.
Yes, so Judith was saying. What's this about you buying a share in a new invention that's going to make you richer than Rockefeller?
I've picked up a half interest in a new system of television, Alex. 3-dimensional television. In color.
Sounds big.
Big. It's colossal, man. It's still in the blueprint stage, but we'll iron the bugs out soon. But what were you two plotting so busily when I came in?
Plotting? Well, dear, we were just talking. Nothing serious.
I was giving Judith a little professional advice, that's all.
Oh, don't you feel well, darling?
It's nothing, Jeff. Nothing at all.
Whatever it is, I want to know about it.
Well, it's just that I've been having headaches lately. That's all.
But why didn't you tell me, Judith?
I didn't want to worry you over nothing.
It's really nothing serious. I've given Judith a prescription that will help her. Well, I think I better run along now. Got another call to make. You take care of yourselves now, both of you.
As Alex left, I knew from his manner he and Judith had not told me the truth. They were keeping some secret from me. Could Judith be seriously ill and they didn't want me to know? Or was it possible Judith and Alex were... No, that couldn't be. A thing like that might happen to other couples, but not to Judith and me. And yet, they were concealing something, and I had to know what. So I took steps to find out.
Mr. Andrews, I'm from the Apex Detective Agency. I have here the report on your wife you asked for.
Yes, please sit down.
Thank you.
What have you learned?
Your wife left the house at 11:30 this morning. She caught the noon train into town. From the station, she went directly to the Union Department Store.
Whom did she meet there?
Oh, she didn't meet anyone, Mr. Andrews. She just looked around and then had lunch in the restaurant. But afterwards...
Yes, go on.
Well, she made a telephone call. A few minutes later, she's picked up at the entrance by a man in a dark green car.
You got the license number, I hope?
Yes, sir. The car belongs to Alexander Hearn, who lives...
Never mind. I know his address.
We need to handle hundreds of such cases, Mr. Andrews. I suppose you'll want me to keep following it till I get all the necessary evidence.
No. I know what you're thinking. It's not so.
Yeah, and naturally I sympathize, Mr. Andrews. Of course, it's a shock to learn your wife is deceiving you, and...
Why, you... Stop! You're joking me. It isn't so. Do you hear? My wife loves me. There's nothing between them. Nothing!
I didn't mean anything. I thought you'd want me to...
Get out of here. There's nothing between them. How easily I'd said that. And yet, why should Judith meet Alex secretly in town? Where had they gone after they had eluded the detective? I wanted to trust her, but what was their secret? I had to find out. And that night, when I returned home, I casually questioned Judith. What did you do with yourself today, darling?
Oh, I got so bored I went into town for some inexpensive window shopping.
Oh? Why didn't you phone me? I'd have taken you to lunch.
Well, I knew how busy you were, dear, so I ate by myself.
What did you do after lunch? Take in a show?
No, just window shopped. Then came home on the 4:00 train.
Sounds like a lonely day. You should have taken someone with you.
Well, I didn't decide to go until the last moment. Anyway, I like to window shop alone. Jeff, you look so strange. Aren't you feeling well?
I'm all right. Just a little tired.
Oh, poor darling. You're working much too hard these days. You must stop it, Jeff. Really, you must.
I settled down, pretending to read, but my mind was spinning tormentedly. I didn't decide to go until the last moment. Anyway, I liked to window shop alone. How easily her answers had come, as though she'd rehearsed them. But they were lies, all of them. Could the detective have been right and I wrong? No, I couldn't believe that. I had no proof. I had to have faith in Judith. I made myself believe I was doing her an injustice, but the very next evening, I found Alex at the house again. He and Judith were walking in the garden, speaking together in low tones, so secretly they didn't even notice me.
Now, Judith, you must listen to me.
No, Alex, I won't.
I tell you, we can't go on like this.
But if we're careful, Jeff may never find out.
He's bound to. People will begin to notice and talk. Sooner or later, Jeff will know that something's wrong. And the longer we wait, the worse it'll be in the end.
I know. Oh, Alex, I can't bear to hurt him.
Oh, Judith, I understand how you feel, but it can't be helped. Now, I have a plan worked out that can't fail.
A plan, Alex?
2 psychiatrists who are friends of mine will sign the papers, and Jeff will be quietly committed to a private sanitarium. We'll make him think it's just for a short rest. He'll never suspect a thing.
Oh, Alex, I couldn't.
But we can't go on hiding the truth from him like this. Believe me, Judith, it's the only way out.
All right, I'll do whatever you say. But we mustn't let Jeff suspect what's happening.
And I'd had faith in her. I thought I was misjudging her when all along she and Alex had been scheming to railroad me into a sanitarium. Oh, it was a clever plan. Alex could manage it through his professional connections, and Judith would become administrator of my fortune. I almost let them know I'd overheard them. And then I got control of myself. There was a better way to handle the situation. I had to think about it and decide what to do. So I slipped quietly away. And a little later, I took Judith out for a drive as though I suspected nothing. But as I drove, I pondered how best to punish them.
What are you thinking about, Jeff? You've hardly said a word all evening. Jeff, I'm speaking to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I'm afraid my mind was on business.
You really are working too hard these days.
Oh, I'm not working that hard. But too bad we couldn't persuade Alex to come with us tonight. He's always such fun when he forgets he's a doctor.
That's because he puts his work completely out of his mind when he gets a chance to relax.
I suppose it would be better if I were like Alex.
Of course not, dear. I like you just as you are, Jeff. Silent moods and all. I wouldn't want you to change.
She lied. I knew she was lying. By now I found it impossible to believe a word she said. I had too much evidence to the contrary.
Oh, Mr. Andrews, it's a shock to learn your wife is too tired. Yes?
But if we're careful, Jeff may never find out.
I have a plan worked out that can't fail. 2 psychiatrists who are friends of mine will sign the papers, and Jeff will be quietly committed to a private sanitarium.
I like you just as you are, Jeff. Silent moods and all. I wouldn't want you changed.
How easily she said that. How smoothly she continued her deception. Bitter rage burned inside me, and deliberately I stepped hard on the throttle. We went faster and faster until Judith became frightened.
Jeff, why are you going so fast? We're doing more than 60, and there are a lot of curves in the road.
Don't worry, Judith. I'm a good driver.
Yes, but darling, we're almost up to 70. Now, Jeff, please slow down. We'll be killed.
Too bad Alex isn't with us. He'd enjoy this.
Now, Jeff, please, darling, slow down. There's a crossroads ahead, then a curve. Jeff, you'll kill us both.
I kept my foot hard on the throttle. I knew there was a curve ahead, and behind it a 300-foot drop into a canyon. I made up my mind. I'd drive over the cliff and end everything for both of us. If only I'd had Alex in the car, everything would be perfect. He deserved to die, too. At the thought, my mind cleared abruptly. How stupid it would be to kill myself and leave Alex unpunished when I knew perfectly just how to make him pay. I slowed the car as I planned all my moves. They were going to try to commit me to a home, were they? All right. I'd fall in with their plot. I'd actually help them by pretending to be unbalanced. I'd make it easy for them, and in a few days, a week perhaps, we'd see who was the cleverer. We'd see. Alex, I tell you, there's millions in this new system of television, maybe billions.
Darling, you're speaking so loudly. Everyone in the restaurant is watching.
Well, let them. What does it matter? Nothing can stop me now, man. In 5 years, I'll be one of the wealthiest men in the world. With my genius for organization...
Jeff, Judith tells me that last week you didn't go to your office at all. You just sat around the house and wouldn't say a word to anyone.
Oh, well, you know how it is, Alex. Sometimes a man feels a little blue. All geniuses are like that. Now, when I set up my new television network, I'll revolutionize world communication. I'll have a monopoly no one will be able to buck. And furthermore... I went on talking, seeing Alex's eyes narrow as he watched me. He saw in me all the symptoms of the manic depressive, the exaggerated ideas of importance, the extravagant dreams of wealth. Soon others would notice, my business associates, my friends, the servants. When that time came, I could count on a visit from Alex, bringing his psychiatrist friends to look me over. Yes, that visit would be coming very soon now. Very soon.
Jeff, darling. Alex has come to see you. He has 2 friends with him.
Hello, Jeff, old man. How are you?
Oh, just fine, Alex. For the last month, I've been working on the plans for my television network. It's going to be the biggest thing of the century.
Jeff, I want to talk to you, and I want you to meet some men I brought with me.
Oh, Alex, I've no time to talk with strangers.
They're 2 doctors, close friends of mine.
Oh, what do they want? With my plans taking up all my time,
They're here because of your new project, Jeff. You see, Judith has been afraid you're working too hard these days.
I'm probably just being silly, darling. But I would like you to have a thorough examination before really starting on your new enterprise. You don't mind, do you?
Oh, I haven't time to bother with such things. You know, I have too much to do.
Jeff.
Oh, well. All right, but it mustn't take too long now.
They're waiting in the hall. I'll bring them right in.
At last, my patience was being rewarded. Alex and Judith's scheme was working perfectly. And so was mine. Alex brought in his friends and introduced them as Doctors Carlton and Marshall. Without waiting for them to question me, I plunged into an excited description of my plans. As I went on and on, I saw them look at each other and nod slightly. Then, as though they were satisfied, Dr. Marshall brought the conversation to a close.
That'll be enough for the time being, Mr. Andrews. I should like to continue this discussion another time.
But, Doctor, I haven't finished telling you of my plans yet.
You need some rest, Jeff.
Yes, dear, you look so tired. Let me take you to your room.
Well, all right, Judith, but I can't rest long. I have too much work to do.
Alex, watch him carefully. There should soon be a definite change. The elated mood should give way to despondency. After that...
I couldn't help overhearing Dr. Marshall's words as Judith led me out of the room. Alex, watch him carefully. There should soon be a definite change. And he was correct. I knew the right symptoms just as well as he did. So the next day I became depressed. Refused to speak, claimed that I was being persecuted, and even pretended to cry in self-pity. And the following morning, Alex and his 2 friends were back again.
Good morning, Mr. Andrews.
You remember Dr. Marshall, Jeff? And Dr. Carlton?
Jeff, say hello to your guest.
No. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anyone.
Huh? The other day you were highly enthused about your new business venture. Don't you want to tell me more about it?
No. No one cares about my plans. I'm alone, all alone. Everyone's against me.
Jeff.
Do you feel this way often? I mean that everyone's against you and life isn't worth living?
Yes. How did you know?
Well, that's because I'm your friend. You can tell me all about it.
You don't know what it's like. To be all alone, to have no friends, to know that everyone hates you, wants to hurt you.
Yes, I understand. Well, I'll see that no one hurts you. Wouldn't you like to go someplace where you'd be safe? Where you'd be surrounded by people who were your friends, wanted to help you?
Yes, I'd like that, but there isn't any such place.
I think I know one. But we've talked long enough for now.
Shall I have Judith take him in the garden?
Yes, I think it will do him good.
Judith, perhaps a little fresh air would make Jeff feel better. Why don't you take him for a walk in the garden?
Yes, of course. Come, give me your hand, darling. We'll go out in the sunshine for a while. That's it.
I'll call you when we're ready.
Yes, all right, Alex.
I let Judith lead me into the gardens. Through the library windows, I could see Alex and the 2 psychiatrists. Alex wasted no time getting them to sign the papers that would commit me to a home from which he and Judith would see I never emerged. But he didn't know that the signing of those papers meant my scheme had succeeded, not his. After a few minutes, Alex came to the door and called.
Judith, will you bring Jeff in now?
Yes, all right. Come along, dear.
All right, I'll come.
Oh, Jeff, we've been talking things over, and Dr. Marshall knows a place where you would be very happy.
Yes, Mr. Andrews. Small rest home upstate. You'll be able to get a good rest there among friends.
Anything, I don't care.
No reason you shouldn't go up today. Alex can drive you up this afternoon.
I don't care when we go. Nothing makes any difference to me.
And, darling, in a little while you'll be home again. Feeling so much better.
Come, Jeff. Judith and I will help you pack.
Just give me your hand now, Jeff, and we'll go with Alex to your room and pack your things.
And we'll go with Alex to your room to pack your things. My best friend and my loving wife. And they couldn't wait to get rid of me. But I was smiling to myself in triumph as Judith opened the door to my room.
Come in, dear. Now, you just sit down and we'll take care of everything.
Now, you must have courage, Judith. It's almost over. I think 2 bags will be enough for now. If Jeff needs anything later, you can take it to him.
Yes, Alex. Jeff, dear, what suits would you like? Jeff, what are you looking in that golf bag for?
There's something I've been keeping here. I've got it now.
Jeff, a revolver.
Yes. I'm fully loaded.
Well, what do you want the gun for, Jeff? Here, give it to me. I'll take care of it for you.
Stay where you are. That's better. I want to talk to you. I've been waiting quite a while for this moment.
What are you saying?
Oh, come, Judith. You don't have to pretend anymore.
Jeff, let me have that gun.
I want you to stand still or I'll shoot.
Alex, he means it.
Yes, I do mean it. Your little plot's been an extremely clever one.
Our little plot? What do you mean?
The idea of having me committed so you two could be rid of me. But you must admit I did help it along by my cooperation.
Jeff, what are you talking about?
It's no use pretending anymore, my dear. I've known everything for weeks. Ever since I overheard the 2 of you talking in the garden one evening.
You heard us talking in the garden? Then that was why you almost killed yourself and me that night when you were driving so fast.
Yes. I changed my mind because that would have left dear Alex still alive.
Jeff, you don't understand that conversation you overheard.
My best friend and my loving wife. Well, you'll be together without me, all right. But we'll be in different worlds.
You're mad, really mad.
Of course I am, my dear, of course. Haven't 2 reputable doctors signed papers testifying to the fact? Which in the eyes of the law relieves me of responsibility for my actions.
You aren't going to...
But I am.
Oh, no, Jeff.
Yes, my dear, yes. I'm going to give you both what you deserve. Death.
Oh, no, Jeff, no. You're wrong, darling. You must
There's
listen.
There's nothing to listen. But I shall be as considerate as possible, my dear. I shall punish Alex first.
No, Jeff. We have been keeping a secret from you, but it's not the secret you think. You're wrong about the whole affair.
I don't think so, Alex.
Jeff, put that gun down. Jeff! Jeff!
Jeff, you should have listened. You
killed him.
Yes, Judith. And now it's your turn. I shall be lonely without you. I loved you so much.
Jeff, darling, you mustn't kill me because you're wrong. I still love you. I do.
I wish I could believe that, but I can't.
Jeff, you've misinterpreted what you heard. Really, you have.
I think not,
now,
Judith.
Jeff, please give me time enough to explain everything.
Forever would not be time enough, my dear, and I would rather not think of you dying with lies upon your lips.
But they're not lies. No, Jeff, no, put down that gun. Dr. Marshall, help!
No one can help you. You see, the door is locked. It'll all be over long before anyone can get here. Now look into my eyes, Judy.
Dr. Marshall, Dr. Carlton! Break the door down, quickly!
Come on, Carlton.
They can't get into this room in time, my dear. Now look into my eyes. It's because I loved you so much that I had to do this. Now... Goodbye, Judith. So, Doctor, that's how I did it. I pulled the trigger just as Dr. Marshall and Dr. Carlton broke the door down. Too late to save Judith. And you see the beauty of my plan, of course. It was perfectly safe. I was certified as being of unsound mind, so I couldn't be punished. Oh, naturally, for the last 2 years I've been confined here in this institution, but I haven't minded it, really. I've been gradually responding to treatment. I've been careful not to respond too fast, you see. And soon you'll be letting me go as cured. I'll be free as air. Now I ask you, Doctor, wasn't that rather clever?
It might be considered so, Mr. Andrews. But why have you told me all this? Aren't you afraid I'll report it?
The police will never believe it. Besides, they could do nothing if they did. No, Doctor, I'm in the clear. I'll start a new life and take up my plans where I left off. That television invention is still waiting to be developed.
Hello, may we come in?
Doc Marshall said it'd be all right for us to speak to Jeff today. Well, hello, old man. How are you?
Judy. Alex. Oh, no.
Darling, I'm so glad to be able to see you again at last.
No. You're not real. You're dead.
Mr. Andrews.
Send them away. They've no right to come back. I killed them. They're dead.
Mr. Andrews, calm yourself, please. I'll take care of them. I'll send them back where they belong. Please, both of you, come outside.
They have to go back. They have to stay in their graves. The dead must stay buried.
Yes, of course, Jeff. We won't bother you again. Come, Judith.
They can't be allowed to disturb me when they're dead. I won't stand for it. I tell you, I won't stand for it. I won't stand for it.
Alex
No.
still isn't well.
We'd never have come, Dr. French, but we thought he was almost well.
Yes, so did we. But we were wrong. Just temporary improvement. He still believes that you were plotting against him and that he killed you for it.
But you understand the truth, don't you?
I think I do, yes.
Well, he overheard us talking about his mental condition and trying to decide what to do about it. And he completely misinterpreted what he heard. And then he tried to shoot us and had to be brought here.
Of course, Mrs. Andrews. But I'm afraid we'll never be able to make him believe the truth.
Oh, Doctor, no.
You see, in his mind, he's killed you. As far as he's concerned, you're dead. I'm afraid you must never see him again. He'll live out his life here, believing he has committed a murder for which he cannot be punished.
This is a mysterious traveler again. Well, Jeff's idea looked like a good one for a while, didn't it? But I don't advise you to try it. You might wind up the way Jeff did. In fact, my advice is to forget the whole thing. You'll be much happier. There's no such thing as the perfect crime. Which brings me to my story for next week. Death has two faces. It's about a gentleman who discovers a new way to die, in which he lets someone else do all the work, and he... Oh, you'll have to get off here. I'm sorry. But I'm sure we'll meet again. I take this same train every week at this same time.
You have just heard The Mysterious Traveler, with a title role played by Maurice Tarplin. Others in our cast were Ralph Bell, Charlotte Holland, Nat Polan, and Chester Stratton. All characters in our story were fictitious, and any resemblance to the actual persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Original music composed and played by Al Finelli. Phil Tonkin speaking. This is the world's largest network, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in the concluding episode of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
We'll soon know now. See the lock's beginning to give? Oh, Helen, won't you please go? There's nothing you can do.
I can see the end. Please, you must let me stay. You must.
Have your guns ready, men. I'll tell you doesn't try to rush through.
What are they going to do? They won't shoot him down.
Come on, right in your gun. Come on, right in. Look, what's the matter? There, on the floor.
Oh!
I thought he would. Dead. But look, sir. That's not Edward Hyde. What do you mean? Don't you see, sir? That's a big man. Hyde was little more than a dwarf. That body lying there is Dr. Jekyll. By heaven. I believe you're right. Inspector, did you hear that?
Yes. Come along. Let's go and make sure. Watch every entrance, men. Hyde must be somewhere in the building still. Search it from top to bottom.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What is it, Doctor? Is it murder?
No. I don't think so. Don't you see that glass lying near his hand?
Smell of almonds.
The odor of one of the most deadly of all poisons. He knew what he was doing.
We searched the old place, sir. There's not the slightest trace of Hyde. But that's impossible. We heard him in this room. He must have got out by some secret door. Are you certain he hasn't slipped through the cordon?
Well, there hasn't been the slightest sign of him, sir. There's a man stationed every few feet.
If you'll excuse me, Doctor, I'll have to go and see about this.
Yes. Yes. Go along. We'll stay here until you come back. Helen, dear. Drink this. There. And now, my dear, won't you sit down? Why, there's a letter here. Addressed to me.
Then read it. I think I know what you'll find written inside. And it seems right that you should read it here, in this room. The place where he made his experiments. The scene of his terrible triumph. And his terrible death.
You make me almost afraid to read.
But you must. It's the last chapter in the life of your friend. You must know it.
Very well, then. You, my dear friend, when this shall have reached your hands, I shall have passed beyond the scope of mortal friendship and of mortal pain. But because I know the bewilderment and the terror which the act I contemplate will arouse in you, I feel it my duty to tell you the full story of my distorted life. As you know, I was born to a large fortune, endowed with enough graces and distinctions to render life unusually fortunate, and with every guarantee of an honorable and distinguished future.
Young Markham, I think, marked the start of that dreadful path which has led me to this tragic end.
If it hadn't been for you, I'd never have gone there. Never have spoken to those girls, never drunk their beastly wine.
But you wouldn't tell the head, Markham.
I would, I dare. Jekyll. Good heavens, Jekyll. Why are you looking at me like that? What's come over you? Don't stare at me that way. Your eyes. What's the matter with your eyes? Keep away. What are you going to do? Don't bury your teeth like that. You're terrible. Jekyll, don't. Don't. Keep away from that window. Keep away, you fool.
Even you, my dearest friend, never knew the truth about Hetty Wilson.
Oh, then I didn't die. That's the truth. I thought about it often enough. I went down to the river once, but there was always the hope that there'd be a letter next day, or I'd see you in the street.
You wondered how it came that I was with our old master, Professor Harriet, when he died, and what bond there was between us.
Final, ultimate test.
Oh, but this is blasphemy. You're going to rip apart the veils that hide the human soul.
Galileo was threatened with a rack on the wheel of inquisition for the blasphemy of saying that the earth revolved round the sun, and I am prepared to accept the torture that will follow the taking of this preparation for the sake of my beliefs. Are you prepared to stay and witness what follows?
Yes, I'll stay.
Good. I now drink to the cause of science.
And Margaret, what can I say about Margaret? My only excuse is that I truly loved her.
Oh, Henry, if I only understood you better. But there's something so strange and wild about you. At times you seem so old, as though you'd lived for 1,000 years.
Don't try to understand me. Just love me, Margaret. Love me forever, no matter what happens, no matter what I do. Otherwise, I'm lost. I know I am.
I do love you. Oh, if you only knew how much.
Margaret inevitably follows the death of her father. Even as I write, I am sickened with the memory of this most frightful crime in the long register of horrors that lie against the name of Hyde.
Hyde, stop this. I've done nothing to you. Haven't you? If you hadn't kept Margaret away from me, Edward Hyde would have ceased to exist long ago. She would have made all the difference. Look on your work, O righteous man, and see what you have called forth out of the darkness of a human soul.
You foul obscenity. Take my daughter's name off your lips. You're the vilest, most repulsive creature I've ever set my eyes on. The world will be a better place to be rid of you, and God willing, I shall do it.
Yeah, kill me, would you?
And Helen. Ah, Hugh, my friend, what would we do without these brave, loyal women who have glorified our lives? Heaven knows, I knew how little I had to take from her, the rich treasure that she offered me.
I'll marry you, Henry. And whatever this black thing is that you've got in the background of your life, I'll help you fight it. And if I don't succeed, if it gets too strong for me, I'll still love you. No matter what you've done, or what you may have become. Please stop. I can't stand anymore.
There are only a few more lines. I think you ought to hear them, Helen, dear.
Go on, then.
You will see by the terms of my will, which I enclose, that provision has been made for you to maintain the clinic and to increase its staff enough to enable you and Helen to cope with the many sick and needy ones who constantly besiege its doors. Here, then, as I lay down the pen, seal up my confession, I must bring to an end the life of that unhappy man who was your friend and confidant, Henry Jekyll. This letter is written in his hand. His body lies before me, yet I can't believe.
I know. I saw the terrible transformation take place before my very eyes. And even I can't believe.
If I make this confession of his public, no one will believe it. They'll say it's the ravings of a madman.
We can't do that. Let his secret die with him. There's the fire. All you've got to do is put it in.
Have we the right? Henry Jekyll made a great discovery. Perhaps one of the greatest of all time. Someday the dark experiments he made may reach perfection in the hands of other men. It may be that the forces that destroyed him because of his imperfect knowledge may be the means of conferring immeasurable benefits on some suffering wretches who would otherwise be doomed to insanity and death.
In the realm of science, nothing is impossible. Those were his very words.
Yes. Who are we in our ignorance to condemn him? Who are we to dare destroy the records of his life?
What shall we do then?
I shall keep this letter. And I'll search this laboratory for every scrap of data, every record he ever made. Professor Marriott passed on the secret of his work to Henry. I must find someone who is worthy to receive the trust from him.
Yes. Yes, I think you're right.
And now, we'll cover this beloved face for the last time. Turn down the lamp that shed its light so steadfastly on the dark agony of his experiments. And close the door of this little secret room that saw the best and the worst of Henry Jekyll and of Edward Hyde. May God have mercy on his soul.
Amen.
And so concludes Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, adapted for radio by Betty Rowland from a story by Robert Louis Stevenson and a George Edwards production.
Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to persons who may still be living, character names in some of these true unsolved mysteries have been changed. There was a door to which I had no key. There was a veil past which I could not see. So spoke Omar the tent maker. But there are people who have glimpsed beyond the veil, and tonight's unsolved mystery takes us to them in the mystery-shrouded city of Lhasa, the home of the Dalai Lama. The scene is San Francisco, a famous world traveler's home, and in the garden a group of friends are discussing the book they have just read. The traveler, a quiet smile on his face, listens to the almost heated debate between two of the men.
Oh, but listen, Tommy, it's all right for writing a book, and I admit that it makes a swell yarn, but sensible people know there's nothing to this reincarnation business.
Just because you say there's nothing to it doesn't make it so. There are too many things that can't be explained without falling back on the theory of reincarnation.
Well, I don't think I'm influenced by the book we're discussing, but I believe that it is possible for a person's soul to go on and on, occupying different bodies.
I wonder who I could have been. Mary Queen of Scots?
Well, after drinking the coffee you make, I'd say Lucretia Borgia.
Oh, no.
It's all right for you all to kid about this theory of reincarnation, but you're dealing with a deep subject. And if you'll permit me to say so, one about which you know nothing.
Do you, Rex?
Have you studied it? You all know, of course, that I was in India when I gathered the material for my last travel book.
Yes.
But what you don't know is that I made a trip to Tibet. In fact, I spent almost a month in the so-called forbidden city of Lhasa.
Oh, tell us about it. It sounds frightfully interesting. Please do, Rex.
Won't you? Well, to begin, do you know what the Dalai Lama is?
Only vaguely.
Well, the priests of the Tibetan faith are called lamas, and the Dalai Lama is the chief lama of them all. He lives in almost complete isolation and only appears at religious ceremonies. Well, as you know, I was up on the border, not so very far from Tibet. It was early evening. It was one of those evenings that you can find only in India. There was a peacefulness, even in the air, it seemed. To the north of us lay the hills. Snow-capped and aloof, mysterious. Hussein Chudra, my interpreter-advisor, was sitting cross-legged on a stool, and his voice seemed to come from afar off as he answered my unspoken thought.
It is permitted when the seeker seeks knowledge and truth.
What was that you said?
Did the Sahib not wish to go beyond the border to acquire knowledge?
Yes. Yes, I was thinking I'd like to see the difference between the real and the fake. I mean to get away from the fakirs of the bazaar and sit for even 1 hour at the feet of a master.
It is, as I said, permitted, but you would not believe even if you saw. You would return again and think that all had been a dream.
I don't think so, Hussein. In fact, while you think of me as just another traveler, I do have moments when I think that getting at the truth of things is the most important thing in the world.
Be ready at dawn, then, Sahib, and we shall depart for the monastery at Chenlao, and you will see something then.
What?
Nay, there will be time enough to answer that when you are there.
The third day saw Rex and Hussein entering Lhasa by the east gate. The sun falls swiftly behind the roof of the world. The snows are shot with gold, and from the crags the monasteries send their deep purple shadows down into the gorges below. The priests in their rough homespun habits talk in whispers or tell their beads, while their chelas or disciples hover near them in rapt attention. Giving and accepting salams and salutations, Hussein leads the way to the arched courtyard of the Chenlao monastery.
Welcome, brothers. Thy cell is ready and awaits thee. The peace of God be upon you. Salam alaikum.
Wahid alaikum et salam. And upon you too be peace.
Rest then until the tolling of the second bell.
It's the most amazing thing I ever heard of. How did he know we were coming?
I sent him word. But come, lie down here and rest. You will be very tired before the night is past.
Thank you, but how could you have sent word ahead? We came more quickly than any mail could have arrived here.
It is not necessary to send, shall I call it, physical word.
You mean that you sent word mentally?
Let us call it that, yes. I sent word mentally.
What was it that the priest who showed us in here said about the second bell?
I shall explain. Tonight you are going to see what few white men, and certainly not more than 3 in your lifetime, have seen.
Yes?
You are going to witness the raising of the Dalai Lama.
I don't understand you.
You know, of course, that the Dalai Lama died?
Yes, I read of that in the newspapers, and I know that the Grand Lamas have been searching for all the children born at the exact moment at which the Dalai Lama died.
You know why?
Yes, because they believe that the soul or spirit of the Dalai Lama entered immediately into the body of the newborn baby.
Correct, except for your qualifying statement. They believe. It is true, and you shall see the proof of it tonight.
I'm afraid I don't quite follow you.
Out of all the babies born at the moment the Dalai Lama died, 3 have been chosen as being possibly the reincarnate Lama. The true Lama will be chosen tonight.
By whom?
By the Dalai Lama himself. But now, no more questioning. We must rest till the tolling of the second bell.
The glow of twilight gives way to the flickering light of rush torches. Sounds, dim and distant, echo softly through the cool, quiet cloisters of the monastery. Rex has the strange feeling of floating freely in space, as though his body were a thing of no account, except an anchor holding his restless spirit, keeping him from attaining a freedom he had never known.
Harmonies of the Moonlight Sonata set the stage for another concert of the world's most honored music, presented as a salute to Longines, the world's most honored watch. The Longines Symphonette, under the leadership of Michel Piastro, will play a program of the world's most honored music. These lovely melodies and Longines watches make a common appeal to cultured people the world over.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of Unsolved Mysteries right after this break. And now, back to Unsolved Mysteries on When Radio Was.
The second bell. Here, Sahib. Place his habit about your shoulders, and whatever happens, say nothing, not a word.
As you say.
We go this way.
Silently, the 2 men join the procession of hooded figures walking toward the grand assembly hall. Rex feels his heart beat faster. A cold sweat breaks over him as he enters the arched and vaulted hall and sees lying in a golden casket the figure of a man long since dead, centuries dead.
It is the body of the Dalai Lama. Not the one who died only recently, but one who died no one knows how many years ago.
And there by the altar, the 3 babies.
Yes, but quiet. The test begins. The Grand Lama is about to question the babies.
As it is written in the sacred word, which of these 3 cups was in life used by the Dalai Lama?
One baby stretching out his hand,
pointing to the gold cup on the right.
Of these 3 prayer books, which is his?
The Same baby pointing again.
Which the sacred string of beads on which he told his prayer.
You see, the same baby. Again he picks out the third string.
The brethren will form the circle.
Keep a tight grip on yourself.
The lingering universal note hangs on the air. The dead Lama in the gold casket stirs, moves. An icy dread holds Rex in a vice-like grip. As he watches, fascinated, horror-stricken, the ghastly shrouded figure slowly raises itself from the casket. The barest rustling of the winding sheet of the dead as the corpse moves, barely touching the flag-stoned floor, toward the altar. A thin, wrinkled, aged arm, a dead arm, disentangles itself from the folds of cloth, and a claw-like hand places a parchment upon the altar. The Lama raises his hand above his head and strikes one blow upon the massive bronze gong. Then, darkness.
Horrible.
Ghastly, I'd say.
I think I'd have run out of the place.
I know I'd have screamed.
I couldn't move. The parchment the Dalai Lama laid on the altar was the one bearing the name and birth date of the baby who had successfully pointed to the articles belonging to the dead Lama.
But it's impossible. I can't believe it. Isn't there some explanation of such a thing?
There is, and I'll try and give it to you.
In just a moment, you will hear a solution to the mystery of the raising of the Dalai Lama. Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and characters have been taken in the solution for which you have been waiting. Once again, we're at the home of the world traveler in San Francisco. Rex is explaining the raising of the Dalai Lama.
In the first place, I want you to realize that the actual raising of the Dalai Lama is not so important to me as the fact that this baby, supposedly the reincarnation of the Lama, was able to pick out accurately the different articles belonging to a man who died the moment he, the baby, was born.
Well, could that not be a coincidence?
It could be, but don't forget that long before the baby was taken to the monastery, he, the baby, had been questioned by the Brotherhood of Grand Lamas and had been able to name correctly the monastery to which, as Lama, he had been initiated.
You mean to say that the baby, without coaching, had been able to identify himself as, actually, the dead Lama?
Absolutely. And remember that every test was carried out under the scrutiny of the Lamas.
Well, that does look like reincarnation, I'll admit. Does science accept that?
Well, science has this other possible explanation. The dead Lama, who all his life has expected to re-enter life in the body of a newly born infant, left behind him such a powerful thought of that nature that telepathically the thought impressed itself upon the newly formed mind of the baby.
You mean that it could be a case of thought transference from the Lama to the baby, and that thought transference lasted on even after the Lama had died?
Yes. In fact, the thought lingering on has nothing whatever to do with the Lama's death. The thought would linger on whether the Lama were dead or alive.
And what about the actual raising of the dead body?
Telekinesis. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, telekinesis is the movement of objects at a distance by means other than physical. And the body of the dead Lama is just an object. You must visualize all the Lamas concentrating their thought on the dead Lama, raising from the casket and picking the proper parchment. Remember, too, that like the dead Lama, all these Lamas firmly believe that they in turn will be reincarnated in the body of some newly born infant. They've been thinking of nothing else all their lives.
Autolite and its 96,000 dealers bring you the First Lady of Suspense, Miss Agnes Moorehead, in a true story of murder. Tonight's presentation of Suspense. Tonight, Autolite presents a dramatization of the most famous unsolved American murder mystery, Miss Agnes Moorehead as Lizzie Borden in The Fall River Tragedy. Hey, Hap, why the downcast look?
My battery is dry, Harlow, and my car won't start.
Well, Hap, that's one of the big reasons you should have an Autolite Stay Full battery, the famous battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
You mean?
Why, the Autolite Stay Full has over 3 times the liquid reserve of batteries without Stay Full features. And this helps prevent one of the major causes of battery failure. The Autolite Stay Full gives longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards.
That's the battery for me, Harlow.
Well, then, see your neighborhood Autolite battery dealer.
He's equipped to give you the best service money can buy on all makes of batteries. To quickly learn his location, just call Western Union by number.
And as for me, Operator 25, I'll gladly tell you the address of your nearest Autolite battery dealer.
And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, with the Fall River tragedy and the performance of Miss Agnes Moorehead, Autolite hopes once again to keep you in suspense.
Just bringing some tea from the pantry. You're Mr. Lippett from the magazine? Yes, I'm Elizabeth Borden. Won't you come in? Come on in. I thought we might sit in the morning room. I have all the things in there, the newspaper clippings and pictures about the trial. Yes, you may sit there, if you will.
Lady Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. Then she took another one and gave her father 41.
That child followed you here. They follow anybody who comes and shout their words. That has been part of my punishment. My whole life since the trial has been a punishment, the worst punishment that anyone innocent or guilty could ever face. They think I'm guilty. Everyone does. They always did, but I'm not. Jury said I wasn't. You must forgive me. I'll pour your tea and tell you all about it. It was my father and my stepmother who were killed, if you'll remember. It was a long time ago. Father where he lay on the couch in the living room, and my stepmother upstairs where she'd been attending to the making of the beds. First, Dr. Bowen came over, and then in a little while, the police were there, too. After some time had passed, I was arrested and brought to trial. And all my friends were witnesses against me.
Please, Your Honor, Mr. Foreman and gentlemen of the jury. Upon the 4th day of August, an old man and an old woman, husband and wife, each without a known enemy in the whole world, in their own home, upon a frequented street in the most populous city of this county, under the light of day and in the midst of its activities, were first one, then another, severally killed by unlawful human agency. Today, Lizzie A. Borden, the own daughter of one of the victims, is at the bar of this court, accused by the grand jury of this county of these crimes. As spokesman for the Commonwealth, it is my purpose to explain to you the grounds and the basis for that accusation. I believe the best way to do that is to call the first witness. Will Dr. S.W. Bowden take stand? Dr. S.W. Bowden?
Yes, thank you.
Raise your hand on the book. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Dr. Bowen, where do you live?
At 91 2nd Street.
That is in Fall River.
Yes, in Fall River.
Am I right in believing that address is directly across 2nd Street from where the Borden family lives?
Yes, that is correct.
Do you know the Borden family?
Yes, I had been their physician and friend for 25 years.
Did you know Mr. Borden's financial situation?
Financial situation?
Did you know if he were wealthy or not?
Mr. Borden's estate, I do not hesitate to say, is considerably more than $300,000.
To be inherited by whom, do you know?
According to his will, to be inherited by his wife.
And upon the condition of her death?
To be inherited by his 2 daughters.
His 2 daughters. That is the prisoner, Miss Lizzie Borden, and Miss Emma Borden.
Yes.
I see. On the morning of the 4th of August, where were you, Doctor?
I was working in the front garden.
How long had you been working there?
Between 9:30, as I can remember, and the time I was called to the Borden house.
Had you seen anyone enter the house?
Only Mr. Borden.
The deceased. What time was that?
Some minutes before 11, say 10 before.
Tell us what you noticed, please.
I saw him first coming up street. He turned through his gate, and then I heard him knocking on his door.
The door was locked?
Yes, I could see that he had tried to unlock it with his key, but the door must have been locked from the inside. The
presently he was let in by the maid, Bridget Sullivan.
Had you ever known that to happen before?
No.
And you saw no one else enter the house the morning of the 4th?
No.
Now, Dr. Bourne, how did you learn of the trouble?
The maid, Bridget Sullivan, told me. She came across and said Lizzie had found her father and had called her to go for help.
And you returned to the house with her?
Yes.
Who was there when you arrived?
We went in the side entrance, which led to the kitchen. Miss Lizzie Borden and a neighbor, Mrs. Churchill.
Do you remember what was said at that moment?
Oh, yes, I do. I saw Lizzie, and I said, Lizzie, what's the matter? She said, Father's been killed or stabbed. I said, well, where is he? And she told me, in the sitting room.
Is that all she said in that conversation at that time?
Yes, I went into the sitting room.
Will you describe what you saw in the sitting room?
Mr. Borden was on the couch. He had the appearance of a man who had been killed while he slept.
Could you explain that, Dr. Bourne?
There was no facial constriction such as is found in cases where the victim fought death.
Were there signs of a struggle in the room?
None.
And when you went out, did you speak to Miss Lizzie Borden again?
Yes.
Do you remember what you said?
Yes, I asked her if she had seen anyone, and she said no. And then I said, where were you? And she said, in the barn, to get some lead.
Dr. Bowen, who discovered the body of Mrs. Borden?
I did.
When?
And I went upstairs to get a sheet to cover the body of Mr. Borden. I saw her body when I reached the top of the front stairs.
You could see her body from the stairway?
Yes.
Could you see it from the hallway upstairs?
Yes.
Did you examine the body?
Yes, she'd been killed the same way as Mr. Borden.
Do you know, sir, which of them died first?
I believe it has been proved by Dr. Wood that Mrs. Borden died approximately an hour before her husband did.
Thank you, Dr. Bowen. That will be all.
This lawyer's name was Mr. Moody. Oh, he was just full of hate. And he had a way to fill everybody else with hate, with the questions he asked them. He made all my friends witnesses against me. Yes, Miss Russell, who lived next door south, and Miss Churchill, who lived next door north. Mr. Moody made them say things to make the jury believe that no one could have gone into the house without being seen, and that no one had, yes? So the murders were committed by someone who was there. And Bridget Sullivan was the only other one there. But there wasn't anybody who suspected her. She was just a witness against me, like the rest of them.
Bridget Sullivan. How long have you known the prisoner?
I worked at that house for almost 3 years.
Would you say they were a happy family?
No, sir.
Will you explain what you mean, please?
There were feelings between Mrs. Borden and the two girls.
Miss Lizzie and Miss Emma?
Yes. Mrs. Borden was their stepmother. They didn't like her.
Well, did they show their dislike in any definite way?
Well, Miss Lizzie never called her mother. She always called her Mrs. Borden.
Do you know why she did that? Or what started the feeling?
Yes. There was an argument about some property. Mr. Borden gave some over to Mrs. Borden. Miss Lizzie thought his property should go to his own flesh and blood.
How do you know this happened?
I heard her arguing with her father.
Do you remember the words that were spoken?
They argued about the property, and Mr. Borden said, Mother has a right to it. And Miss Lizzie said, don't call her mother. She's a mean old thing, and we hate her.
By we, she meant her sister and her?
Yes.
And from that time, Miss Lizzie never called Mrs. Borden mother?
Never that I heard.
Miss Sullivan, what were you doing the morning of the murder?
I've been washing windows.
Who was in the house that morning?
Miss Emma was not. She'd been gone since the day before, visiting a friend. Mr. and Mrs. Borden had breakfast, and then he left.
Well, what time was that?
Near 9 o'clock.
What about Mrs. Borden?
She was dusting. She told me to wash the windows. Then I never saw her again.
Will you repeat that, please?
I never saw her again. I even asked Miss Lizzie where she was, and she told me she went out.
Miss Lizzie told you her stepmother had gone out?
Yes. She said a note had come and that Mrs. Borden had gone to see a sick friend.
Did you see the note?
No, sir. No, never saw it.
Did you see Mrs. Borden leave?
No, sir.
If she had indeed left, which door would she have gone out?
The front door, sir.
And yet that was the door you unlocked and opened to admit Mr. Borden a few minutes before 11.
Yes.
How was it locked?
It was bolted from the inside.
Did you lock it?
No, sir.
And obviously no one going out that way could lock it from the outside.
No, sir.
What about the other doors?
They were locked.
You sure of that?
Yes, sir.
So, no one could have come into the house that morning?
I don't think so.
All right, Miss Sullivan. Now, when you heard Mr. Borden knock on the door, you went to it.
Yes.
Miss Sullivan, where was Lizzie Borden at that moment?
Upstairs or on the stairway.
How do you know that's where she was?
Because when I was walking to the door, I heard her laugh.
You heard her laugh?
Yes, sir. And she came down the front stairs after I let her father in.
What was she laughing at?
I don't know, sir. She didn't say.
Tell us what happened then after Mr. Borden came in.
I heard her ask how he felt. He'd been sick. Then I heard her get the couch ready so he could lie down. By that time, I'd gone through the kitchen to the rear stairway where I went up to my room.
Now, how long did you stay there?
20 minutes, I think. Then Miss Lizzie called from downstairs to say that her father had been killed.
Did you speak to Miss Lizzie?
Yes, sir. When she told me her father was killed, I asked her where she was.
And how did she answer?
She said, I was up in the barn.
Thank you, Miss Sullivan. That will be all.
This lawyer, this Mr. Mooney, was awfully clever. You understand, the Commonwealth had no physical evidence, nor any witnesses to the murders. And Mr. Mooney was trying to eliminate the possibility that anyone else could have done it, as they said. And I realized that innocence or guilt didn't make any difference anymore. Mr. Mooney would have tried to do the same thing no matter what. To turn my friends against me, my doctor and my servant.
Captain Harrington, being in charge of the investigation of the day of the murders, did you question Miss Lizzie Borden?
I did. When I got there, I asked her if she knew anything about it. She said she did not, that she'd found him when she came into the house. I asked her where she'd been, and she said she'd been in the loft in the barn. I asked her how long, and she said she thought it had been 20 minutes.
And did you investigate that statement?
I did. I went to the loft in the barn. The floor was thick with dust. When I walked across it, I left footprints. But there were no other footprints up there.
There was no evidence that anyone else had been there?
No evidence at all.
That will be all, Captain Harrington. Thank you. I would like to ask the jury to pause for a moment and weigh the testimony heard thus far. I should like to remind you that it was given by persons who would rather not speak against the prisoner and who spoke only the truth under oath. Now, I should like to ask the prisoner, Miss Lizzie Borden, to take the stand.
Autolite is bringing you Miss Agnes Moorehead as Lizzie Borden, with Joseph Kearns as Mr. Moody in The Fall River Tragedy. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Say, Hap, where were we?
Oh, you were telling me about the Autolite Stay Full battery.
Oh, yes, the famous battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use.
Good starter, Harlow?
It's the very best, Hap. Why, every positive plate in the Autolite Stay Full is protected by fiberglass retaining mats to reduce shedding and flaking. and give longer life, as proved by tests conducted according to accepted life cycle standards.
You've sold me, Harlow. I'm on my way to get a new Autolite Stay Full battery.
So, friends, have your battery checked soon by your neighborhood Autolite battery dealer who services all makes of batteries. He'll gladly tell you whether your battery is right for these cold starting days. And if a replacement is needed, your Autolite battery dealer has an Autolite Stay Full battery for your car. To quickly learn his location, just call Western Union by number.
And ask for me, operator 25. I'll tell you the name of your nearest Autolite battery dealer.
Where you can be sure of getting an Autolite Stay Full battery. The battery that needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. And remember, from bumper to tail light, you're always right with Autolite. And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Miss Agnes Moorehead as Lizzie Borden in Elliot Lewis's production of The Fall River Tragedy. A true story, well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I remember the day so clearly when I was called to the stand. None of my friends would look at me, nor my sister. And then I realized that my father and my stepmother were more fortunate than I would ever be.
You, Lizzie A. Borden, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Miss Borden, did you ever have any trouble with your stepmother?
No.
Miss Borden, do you mean not within that past year?
No, about 2 years ago.
Oh, then you did have trouble with her.
If you wish to call it that.
What was it about?
About my stepmother's stepsister, Miss Whitehead.
Was it a violent expression of feeling?
There was simply a difference of opinion.
In regard to what?
In property. Her father's house was for sale on 4th Street, and my father bought her stepsister's share and gave it to her.
To your mother?
My stepmother. We thought what he did for her, he should do for his own flesh and blood.
Did you at that time say to your father, don't call her mother, she's a mean old thing and we hate her?
I don't know. I may have, but I don't remember.
Were you always cordial with your stepmother?
That depends upon one's idea of cordiality.
Was it cordial according to your ideas of cordiality?
Yes. I didn't regard her as my mother. I stopped calling her mother after the affair regarding her stepsister.
Why did you leave off calling her mother?
Because I wanted to.
Have you any other reason to give me?
No.
Oh, then that will have to be sufficient. Now, Miss Borden, we come to the morning of August 4. That morning, did you breakfast with your father and stepmother?
No, I came downstairs at about 9. They had finished eating.
Did you see your father?
Yes. He was in the sitting room reading the Providence Journal.
And your stepmother?
Saw her in the dining room. She had a dusting cloth.
That was about 9.
Yes.
When did you see your stepmother again?
After I'd eaten a pear and come back into the dining room. She told me she had had a note and was going out to see a sick friend. She said she'd get the dinner.
Did you see the note?
No, sir.
Did you see your stepmother leave?
No, sir.
Or did you hear her leave?
No, sir.
How long did you stay downstairs?
Oh, I'm not sure. I ate a pear and drank a cup of tea and then went back to my room.
Your room. That's up the front stairs to the rear.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That is across the hallway and a few paces to the rear of the room where your stepmother's body was later found.
Yes.
How long did you stay in your room?
I don't know. It must have been an hour.
Did you see anyone up there?
No, sir.
Did you hear anything?
No, sir.
What were you doing?
I was sewing a piece of lace on a garment.
Do you know that medical examination has proved that your stepmother was killed approximately an hour before your father?
Yes.
Do you understand that to mean she was killed at approximately 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Were you in your room at 10 o'clock?
I think I was.
But you heard nothing. Nothing like the sound of a person being struck down a few paces away.
No.
That is extraordinary. Now, Miss Borden, you insist that you did not leave your room for close to an hour.
Yes.
And where was your father?
He had left. He went downtown after 9.
Do you understand that the front door and all the doors were locked from the inside when he returned a few minutes before 11?
Yes.
Did you lock it?
No, sir.
Do you understand that the witness, Miss Bridget Sullivan, testified that she did not lock it?
I heard her say that.
Well, then who locked it?
I don't know.
Did you hear your father try to get in?
Yes, sir.
Were you still in your room?
I was coming down.
You had passed the spare room and were on the stairs.
Yes.
Didn't you see anything?
If I looked in, I should have seen Miss Borden. I didn't look in. I didn't see anything.
What did you laugh at?
I did not laugh.
Did you hear a witness's sworn statement that you did laugh?
Yes. Must have been mistaken.
I see. Now, when your father came in through the door Bridget Sullivan had unlocked, you came downstairs.
Yes.
Did you speak with your father?
I asked him how he was feeling, and he said he thought he would lie down.
And that is when he went to the couch in the sitting room. Did you help him?
Yes. Yes, I went with him and covered him with a shawl.
And then what did you do?
I went up in the barn to get some lead.
What kind of lead?
For fishing sinkers. I was going to our farm in Marion, and I was going to fish while I was there.
When were you going fishing?
Monday.
The murders occurred on Thursday. You were going fishing on the next Monday?
Yes.
Miss Borden, why did you pick that particular time on Thursday to go to the loft in the barn to get sinkers?
I don't know. It occurred to me, so I went to the barn.
Did you pick the loft of the barn as a place to keep sinkers?
No. My father had once told me there was some lead up in the barn.
Do you know that search for fishing apparatus in your house has shown there was none there?
I had none there, but there was some at the farm.
Then did not that apparatus include sinkers?
No, there were no sinkers on the line.
How long had it been since you used the apparatus?
3 years.
And you remembered all those years that there were no sinkers?
Yes.
I see. How long do you think you were occupied in looking for sinkers in the loft?
About 15 or 20 minutes.
Did you do nothing besides look for sinkers in that 20 minutes?
Yes, sir. I ate some pears.
Would it take you all that time to eat a few pears?
I do not do things in a hurry.
Is that all you did?
No. I went over to the window and I opened it.
Why did you do that?
Because it was too hot.
I suppose that's the hottest place on the premises.
Yes.
Don't you think it would have been more comfortable if you waited until late afternoon to look for your sinkers rather than choose the hottest hour of an August morning?
Perhaps I would have.
I'm sure you would have. From the window, could you see the house?
Yes.
How many pears did you eat in that 20 minutes?
3.
Could you, standing at that window, see anybody enter the kitchen or the side door?
No, sir.
I thought you said you could see the house.
Not after you pass the jog in the barn. It obstructs the view of that side of the house.
Miss Borden, have you heard a witness, Captain Harrington, a policeman trained to make accurate observation, testify that there was no evidence whatsoever that anyone had disturbed the dust on the floor of the barn loft? That no one had been there?
I heard him.
And you still insist that you were there for 20 minutes during which your father was killed?
Yes, sir.
Then how do you account for Captain Harrington's statement?
I don't know. I'm afraid that Captain Harrington must have been mistaken. I was up in the barn. Mr. Moody was terribly clever. He suggested a motive, 2 motives, the hate for my stepmother and the inheritance. He suggested the story of being in the barn was false. He suggested that the story of the note and my stepmother leaving was false. He suggested that I was guilty, but I'm not. Jury said I wasn't. They found me not guilty. They didn't find the axe, they didn't find blood stains or destroyed clothes or anything, just circumstance. But it doesn't seem to matter what the jury said. Nobody else thinks I'm innocent.
Lizzie Borden took
That's why they punished me. But I am innocent, no matter what people think. I stood trial, and I am innocent. I swear I am. I swear I am.
Lizzie Borden took
I'm sorry. Will you stop that? Stop it. She was not my mother. Oh, you're leaving. Don't go. I haven't finished. I haven't shown you the pictures or the newspaper clippings. I saved them all to show somebody. Why are you leaving like this, Mr. Lippert? You haven't even finished your tea. I didn't finish telling you my...
Suspense. Presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, the First Lady of Suspense, Miss Agnes Moorehead.
This is Harlow Wilcox speaking for Autolite, world's largest independent manufacturer of automotive electrical equipment. Autolite is proud to serve the greatest names in the industry. That's why during the early months of 1952, the Autolite family will join together in saluting the leading car manufacturers who use Autolite products. Our Autolite family is made up of the nearly 30,000 men and women in 28 great Autolite plants from coast to coast and in still other Autolite plants in many foreign countries. Our family also includes more than 18,000 people who have invested a portion of their savings in Autolite, as well as 96,000 Autolite distributors and dealers in the United States and thousands more in Canada and throughout the world. Our Autolite family will salute the Hudson Motor Car Company on the next Autolite Suspense television program. If you live in a television area, check the day and time of Suspense on television so that you'll be sure to see this show. And remember, be with us next week for another thrilling Autolite Suspense program on radio.
Next week on Suspense, our star will be Mr. Richard Basehart, who will portray a man who found it necessary to commit the perfect crime, a tale we call The Perfectionist. In weeks to come, we shall also present Mr. Charles Boyer, Mr. J. Carroll Nash, and Mr. James Mason, all on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucian Morwick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The Fall River Tragedy was written for Suspense by Gil Dowd. In tonight's story, Joseph Kearns was heard as Mr. Moody. Featured in the cast were Peggy Weber, Herb Butterfield, Rolf Sedan, Will Wright, and Stuffy Singer.
Agnes Moorehead may currently be seen in the Wald Krasner RKO production, The Blue Veil.
And remember, next week on Suspense, Mr. Richard Basehart in The Perfectionist.
This is the CBS Radio Network.